Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the School Committee of the Town of Foxborough regular meeting. Today, May 16th, 2016. Tonight's agenda, we're going to begin with our annual school committee reorganization that always follows the town elections. And then we'll recognize any visitors who wish to be heard. We will approve our minutes. We have a couple of sets of minutes tonight. And then we'll have a very exciting teaching and learning highlight featuring some very special guests who are here in the front row tonight. I believe from the Taylor Elementary School. It's a math lesson I think you guys are going to share with us. Is that right? Yeah. All right. We're going to get our annual update from Foxborough High School Guidance Services. Mr. Yukna is then going to lead us through a Town of Foxborough financial policy review. We have a second reading of policies that had a first reading last meeting regarding family and medical leave, student activity accounts, and long-range strategic planning. The school committee will then vote to reappoint Ms. Deborah Spinelli as a voting member of the Bi-County Collaborative Board of Directors for the 2016-17 school year. We'll address any other matters, and then the committee will be going into executive session tonight for the purpose of discussing negotiation strategies with union personnel. Specifically tonight it's with regard to the Foxborough School Bus Drivers Association, and the committee will not be returning to open session after that executive session. Just before we start, I want to welcome our newest member at the table for his first meeting at the school committee of the town of Foxborough, Chris Connolly. Congratulations and welcome to the table.
Thank you very much.
I also want to congratulate Marilyn on your re-election. Well earned, well deserved.
Thank you very much.
I'm
glad to be back.
Good. We're glad to have you back. I want to add my personal thanks to Steve Uden. I think the committee had an opportunity to thank Steve on his way out at the last meeting. But since I was absent, I didn't have a chance. I want to thank Steve for his years of service. And I also just want to thank, on behalf of the entire committee, the others who ran in the race. It's always great to have interest and have others express an opportunity to put themselves out there in the public, and that's what serves our schools so well. So thanks to all who participated in the election.
I think it's very exciting. Chris lived in the town only 6 months and liked it so much he bought. So he's now been a house owner for 6 months, and he has already stepped up to the plate to contribute back. So thank you.
Thank you.
That's great.
And Chris, I know the paper and the cable access folks had a chance to interview you and put out a little bit about you, but why don't you take a minute and just tell the public about yourself?
Okay. I've been a teacher for 12 years. My first year teaching, I taught at St. Catherine's of Siena in Norwood, where I taught religion, history. For the last 11 years, I've been a teacher in Brockton. I teach history. I've taught special ed math. And I do run the credit recovery for the 8th grade at my school, which is students that are struggling. We help to get them back on track. I've been a varsity basketball coach. I'm a baseball umpire. Coach baseball. I've coached softball. I work for the Special Olympics. I volunteer for that. I've worked as a drama director. So I've been involved in education for a long time. And I'm looking forward to helping out and doing my part here.
Well said. Glad you're here. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have our annual reorganization. And what we do is we appoint a chairperson and a vice chair. And the way we follow that procedure is we start with the chair and we take nominations from anyone on the committee who would like to make a nomination. Or we can have a general discussion first. Mrs. Lord?
Yeah, I would like to actually have a general discussion, but also for the sake of Chris, who's never been part of a school committee. Each one of us, no matter where we sit, here, vice chair, chair, all our votes are totally equal in weight. So it does not matter where we sit. And we have been very successful the past 3 years. We've had nobody vying for power or more say. It's been very comfortable. What we had to do at one point was set up a rotating system, because there was a time where there was a kind of power struggle and people wanted to keep control. So we thought if we rotated, it would be very fair and balanced. Last year, everything was running so very smoothly that we broke that And Bruce remained as chair for the second year in a row, and Tina remained as vice chair for her second year in a row. Now, if we continue that, it works very well, this team together. But what we might want to consider is perception. Sometimes perception is an enemy rather than reality, so that we may want to consider to put the rotating back in this year again, so that people won't think anybody wants control or is trying to have control. So,
Well, I'll be very honest. It's been a pleasure to serve at the chair again. But I would like to hear from Mrs. Bellinger, because she's been next in line for a couple of years now, and I do think if it's something that she's interested in doing, that we should nominate her, and if it's something where she's comfortable where she is, then I'm comfortable supporting that as well. So, Tina, do you want to offer your thoughts?
I hate to be wishy-washy, but I would be honored to serve as chair, and I'm also very happy right where I am, serving as vice chair. It's been a great experience working together with everyone on the committee as the vice chair, and I've had the opportunity to step into your seat a couple times and that's been fun too. So I'm always one to do what's asked of me. So
Then you've done
if
a
the
great
committee
job.
thinks it's time to rotate, I'm up for that, and if we're happy with the things the way they are, I am content with that as well. So.
Very good. Any other?
I think that'd be great if we could nominate Tina, if everyone else is on board with that.
They don't have to be. You can make a nomination.
I nominate Tina to be the chairman this year, or until our next reorg, which will be next year.
Is there a second?
we don't need seconds for nominations.
Yep.
So what you would ask, is there any other nomination?
Yeah, but is there any other nomination? All those in favor of Tina taking over as chair for the next school year?
Aye.
Aye.
It's
Aye.
by aye vote.
Aye.
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 Chair says aye. Tina, the chair is yours.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you all.
Congratulations, Tina.
All right.
Take your
I'll
little,
take my wallet.
well, I was gonna say the nameplate.
Take my purse.
Take all your stuff.
Just in case, can't get too far away from my purse.
I will give you an official handshake.
Here's
Okay,
Bruce's water.
Oh, thank
Now,
you.
do we proceed to nominate vice chair, or is Bruce the
Yes.
vice chair?
So then she has to open the floor for nominations for
I'd like
vice
to
chair.
open the floor for nominations for vice chair / secretary.
I would like to nominate Bev Lord if I could, if everyone's in favor of that.
Would anybody like to entertain any other nominations? Okay. Bruce, are you interested in being vice chair?
I'd be happy to, but I'm also happy to support Bevy. I think the only thought I can offer for the consideration of the committee is Bevy's up for election next year. Is that right? But I'm comfortable no matter what. We, as Bevy said,
Is that a prediction I'm gonna lose?
Well, either way, we have to reorg
If I
next year
choose
anyway,
to,
right?
if I
Right, yeah.
choose to
We
run,
reorganize every year.
is there a
No.
secret message here?
No.
Oh,
no.
well, I must weigh this decision very carefully then.
Well, if there are no other nominations, should we take a roll call vote for Bev for vice chair?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Congratulations.
But I don't think Bruce and I need to change seats to conserve time tonight. I want to hear about our math
Okay.
projects.
Yep.
I was wondering if you guys could scrunch together so I could get a picture of the new board.
Well, we usually
that,
take a
Dan.
formal photo at the end of the new board.
Normally I would do this, but I actually have to run back.
I think scrunching is in
So I
order.
have to leave
Scrunch-
out
should we
for
just-
kids.
Scrunch around.
Why don't
I'm
we just?
scrunching out.
I'm scrunching out.
Start being a fan of
Well, this is, why don't,
We all stand?
no, I like to.
You okay?
I like boy, girl, boy.
This is good. Get scrunch in there.
You guys can scrunch a little more.
I like this. The student art will be behind us. That's a good idea.
Exactly. Bill's camera, so it's a little different, yeah. All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you, Vera. Okay. Well, thank you for the vote of confidence, and it should be a good year, Bev.
We already know we work well together, Tina,
That we do.
for the hours on the policy.
Okay. Do we have any visitors who would like to be heard? Seeing none, we'll move on to approval of minutes. We have the minutes from the April 25th, 2016 meeting. Does anyone have any changes, amendments? I don't. Nope. Bev, do you have any?
No?
Would anyone like to
I
make
make a motion that we accept the meetings of the regular meeting of April 25, 2016 as presented.
I second that.
All those in favor?
I think it's a 4, because you can only vote, I think, if you're present.
So,
Okay.
So
3.
So it would
So it
be
would be
3-0.
4-0.
Well, Bruce wasn't at that
Oh,
meeting
there you
either,
go.
so.
Well, actually, what you were doing is, when we take our vote, you can vote.
Yes.
It means that you are accepting these as the legal document.
yes, but Bevy's right, but,
Any-
Bevy's right,
vote.
but I'm gonna
Yeah.
abstain since I wasn't here.
Okay,
Okay.
but that is that is legal. So if
Just
you,
officially making it the record, that's all.
yes,
So it's,
Yeah,
This is
and then
just-
check, in the past, if a member wasn't present, they haven't voted because of not being able to verify the minutes are accurate, obviously. So I'm just questioning that, because we've always done that, right? Not we, but you, the board has
Well,
always done. I'm just
sometimes.
checking because I know Janet and I,
Wasn't
at the day after the meeting,
this goes
we
back
make sure we've got
to
stuff in
goes-
order.
it does.
3-0-2 then. Two abstentions?
We need to finish the vote, but, but I think this is a productive
Anyone
discussion,
that's
so.
comfortable can vote, just to make those minutes the
The official record.
Right.
All right, well, I'm voting yes.
Okay, all those in
because they're-
favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, so 3-0-2 for the April
right.
25th. And then we have executive session minutes from April 26th.
I move to accept those executive minutes.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? 3-0-2. Do I have a motion to release these?
I'll make a motion to release these.
I'll second them.
All those in favor of releasing the minutes of April 25th? Opposed? Abstentions? 3-0-2. Okay. Now we have our teaching and learning highlight, number talks. Would you like
Yes.
to introduce our guests,
My
Mrs.
favorite
Kelly?
part of the meeting. I would love to. I get the best job, which is just introduce people. So I would like to invite Ms. Allison Mello, who the committee's quite familiar with, our K-8 Math Science Director, and two of our wonderful teachers at the Taylor School, Ms. Nancy Curran, who is in 2nd grade, and Ms. Jackie Zabo, who's a 3rd grade teacher. And we have 5 wonderful Taylor School students. We just go like this when I say your name. Brian Sullivan, gonna go left to right. Good for you, come on up. John Marcelonis, also in 2nd grade. Come on up, John. And then we have Kiara Fitzpatrick, come on up. Did I say your name right? I didn't, again. Say it again for me. Kira. I'm gonna write it the way I would phonetically. Kira Fitzpatrick, and then we have Amanda, and then we have Lauren. Come on up. And they're 3rd graders, so the girls are in 3rd grade. Come on up with your chair. We gotta make room for you, 'cause you're all presenters tonight. So Brian and John are 2nd grade students, and Kira, Amanda, and Lauren are 3rd grade students. So they're going to present to you tonight something that goes on all the time in our mathematics classes at elementary, which are number talks. I love their title. You can see their presentation on the board. Can we talk? Using number talks to increase number sense. So I will turn it over to Mrs. Mello.
Well, thank you all for having us, and thank you, boys and girls, for coming, and Mrs. Kern and Mrs. Zabo. Mrs. Kern and Mrs. Zabo have been participating in a new initiative this year. We've started an aspiring teacher leader group, and we have been focused on math and improving math practices, and I was excited to have them come and show some of what they are doing in their classroom. But the stars of the show are definitely in front of me here. So first I'm just going to tell the school committee a little bit about Number Talks, because I think you know more about it than they do. So Number Talks are a routine that we are using in our classroom, and this is the book, and it's a very well-known book, and there are lots of great examples in it. And it's a strategy that helps students to use mental math and increase their computational fluency. So what they are very short, maybe about 10 minutes, structured times in the classroom where students have the opportunity to try to attack number problems in any way they want. And they get to talk about their strategies. That's why it's called the Number Talk. And it gives the students an opportunity to engage in mental math. So they're not using their pencils, their manipulatives, their whiteboards, their fingers. They're just using their brain. And it gives them a chance to speak about math with each other and with their teachers, and to think and learn from each other, which is a really exciting opportunity. And it also gives them a chance to try different strategies. And one of our favorite things, and I know they'll tell you about it, is when somebody else tries a strategy that might be more efficient than theirs, and then they can learn from it and try it next time. So the goal of Number Talks, there are many goals, but the primary goal is to increase computational fluency. And some of the things that kids get from a Number Talk is seeing that numbers are composed of smaller numbers, so they can take them apart and put them back together. That what we know about one number, for example, what we know about 10 might help us with 100 or 1,000. So that also helps us to think about place value and how numbers are organized in tens and ones. And then thinking about patterns in numbers. So a Number Talk is structured in a very sort of consistent way. Students come to a spot in the room, and usually it's the rug area or near the board or the easel, and the teacher puts up a problem. It's a big reveal, and then students use mental math, and they have their quiet thinking time. Nobody talks during that time. Now, I'm going to ask my friends here to demonstrate. When you are thinking during a Number Talk, what do you do? Can you show me? Right, so this means I'm thinking about it. What happens when you think you have a solution? Can you show us that? When you have the solution, right, a finger comes up. And what about if you have more than one strategy? Right, then we can have more. So it's a silent communication, and it's not done out here because we don't want anybody else to feel rushed, right? We all want to respect our thinking time. So we have our signals, and then once we start sharing, what if you had the same idea as me and you wanted to agree with me? What would that look like? Right, I'm going to say me too, or I agree. Fabulous. So what does the teacher do? It's really important, actually, the role of the teacher. The teacher really has to create a culture of risk-taking and support from student to student, from teacher to student. The teacher has to select problems that are going to be rich enough that we can attack them in many different ways. She has to provide, or he, enough time for thinking, which is sometimes the biggest challenge because you want everyone to have enough processing time to think about the problem. Then the teacher is really shifting the focus away from themselves and onto the students, thinking about what they saw and what they did, not what the teacher did. And then, as you'll see in a moment, the teacher records and clarifies. And then, obviously, it's an opportunity to identify misconceptions so that they can correct them. So throughout the Number Talk, the teacher is recording on chart paper, and those things become anchor charts so that the kids can then refer back to a strategy that they may have seen. So it becomes a tool later when they attack other problems. Do you guys look at your anchor charts in your classrooms when you have them? Yeah, there's lots of them, yes. They're helpful? Is it a good tool? So some of the student language that we might hear, and you guys agree with me if you've ever said this, I know another way. Have you ever said that? I know another way to do it. Or I know I'm right because, so you're defending your answer. You have to do that. Or I have a question about your strategy. We ask each other really respectfully. And then the teacher might say, how did you do that? Or why did you think that? And one of my favorites is, could you both be correct? And why? Or show me how you did something. So I hope the school committee is ready because you know that when I come, and you don't, so welcome to the party, I really want to test this out on you. So this is where no pencils, no pens, no fingers, no cell phones, and I see people when they try to take them out. And boys and girls have not seen this problem yet either. So boys and girls, when you have the solution, you're going to show us with your thumb, and then we're going to give you a chance to talk about it. So this problem is for our second graders. Third graders are welcome to participate as well, but you're going to have your own problem in a moment. Is everybody ready? Okay, it's going to come up on the screen. remember, if you get your answer, you could think of another strategy. All right, who would like to share? And you can grab the whiteboard, Mrs. Curran, and you can demonstrate, that they're thinking. Would you like to share your solution that you got? What did you get?
I got 65.
You got 65.
Could I ask Mrs. Curran to do the writing over there, because I don't want to miss.
Well, we tried to set it up with Foxborough cable so that we could see it.
Oh,
Mrs.
I'm sorry.
Spinelli. So,
Oh, I just messed that up.
that's okay. It's okay. Oh, that's okay. We can see right there. That's perfect.
You can?
I think so. I see the
All
board
right, just
up there.
tip it. Oh, this is going to be hard, isn't it? Okay, you can go back to the corner. Go back to the corner, that's all right. Yeah, I see what you're trying to do.
Maybe he can slide over.
I just miss seeing his handsome face. But
Why don't you stand up while you tell us? How about that?
that's better.
There we go. You can stand up while you tell us your strategy. Okay, there you go. And then you can move back if you need to, Mrs. Curran.
I added 30 plus 20, which equaled 50. And then I did 7 plus 8, that equals 15. And then I added 50 plus 15, and that equals 65. And that's how I got my answer of 65.
Oh, I see some me too. That's how you did it
Oh,
also.
so you're supposed to do like me too.
Yeah,
Okay.
me too. So did any of you do it that way as well?
Me too.
Okay, very nice.
I did the exact same thing.
So you didn't do 8 plus 7 and
No.
old-fashioned carry
I
the
was gonna do
one?
that, but no, I decided not
Okay,
to.
nice.
I wanted to be quick.
I did
No, I
it the
wanted to be
old-fashioned
quick.
Okay, just checking. I was wondering if anybody else here had a different strategy. Anybody do it a different way? Any of you, my third graders, do it a different way? You thought about it the same way? You said you had another strategy, right?
Yeah.
Because I saw 2 fingers. Do you want to tell us what your other one was?
I wrote down an empty number line.
In your head, you saw an empty number line?
Yep.
I like that.
So I wrote down 37, and then I jumped 20. Then I took 3 from the 8 and added it to
What did we land on?
57, which made 60. And then the 5 that was left, I added the 5, that equals 65.
Can I reiterate that you're in second grade and you're doing that? That is amazing.
Very nice job.
That is amazing.
Do you feel, boys and girls, that you use your empty number line too? Is that a good tool that you have?
Yeah.
Okay, so,
Number line.
open number line, right? Something
I
new.
better go back to the second.
We're not old dogs yet, Bev.
That's right. We should see it with fractions. It's amazing. Okay, ready for the next one? Do you want to add anything to that, Mrs. Curran?
I was just going to ask Brian or John. John, why don't you jump in? How do you know 7 plus 8 is 15? What strategy do you use?
Doubles plus 1.
Doubles plus 1. Do you want to explain that? What is that?
Oh, double plus 1.
7 plus 7 equals 14 plus
Where'd you
1
get that 7? The second 7
from the 8.
from 8. Good. Keep going. 7 plus 7 is
14 plus 1 equals 15.
Nice job. Way to use your strategies. I love when there's numbers hiding in numbers. Makes it so much easier. Nice job, my friends. All right, you might want to erase that one because now we're going to try a multiplication one. And I know my second graders have not learned multiplication, and actually the problem that the third graders are going to see, they haven't done either. So I will give you a little background. Part of the reason we became interested in number talks was because we had students sometimes as high as 8th grade, that's where my role sort of ends, who if you said to them, what is 14 times 6, they would either be counting or they would say, we didn't have to learn our 14s tables. And they were missing that 14 was a composite of 10 and 4. So we really went to this strategy as a way for kids to take apart numbers and put them together. So third graders do not learn their 12s tables, but we're going to give them one that has a 12. Okay, ready? Go ahead. 12 times 5. Let's see what you can do with it. We did not preview these with them, by the way. Remember, try to think of another strategy if you have it. Whenever you're ready, Mrs. Abba, you can call on someone. It looks like our committee has it, and it was more than one strategy, too.
What do you think, Amanda? I think two fingers.
156.
He's using a calculator.
56. Did anybody have a different answer? Sometimes with the whole class, we record them.
I
All
do,
of
yeah,
them.
I always do.
So I was just checking to see.
Other
if
answers?
Anybody had a different one?
You had 156 too? You did? And so did you? I don't know that I believe you. You sort of agreed with that. Let me ask you a question. What's 10 times 5?
50.
50. So let's think about that for a minute.
Oh, I got it wrong.
She knows.
Yeah, she knows.
Go ahead. Say it.
I think the answer is 100.
You think 12 times 5 is 100?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to explain your thinking?
First I did 10 times 5 equals 50.
Okay.
And then there was still the 2 left, so I did 50 times 2 equals 100.
Let me ask you a question. So where did we take the 10 from, where we did the 10 times 5?
From the 12.
From the 12. So when I take the 10 away from the 12, what's left in my 12?
2.
2. So I did 10 times 5, so then I have to do 2 times what?
50.
Why 50?
Because 5 times 10 equals 50, so you have to add the sum to the...
Right. You want to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, explain that.
Sorry, it's hard from the board right there for you to do it.
So you did 10 times 5 equals 50, and then you told me 50 times 2 equals 100. Where's that 2 coming from?
The 12.
The 12.
I think I know how to show it on the
All
board.
right.
This is great. This is exactly what happens in class when we're learning how to do this. All right. So, you took apart your 12. I like that. And you said there was a 10 and a 2? Okay. So, there's my 10, and there's my, oops, did I write that backwards? I did. I caught myself, so. I said, all right, I'm going to take this 10 and multiply it by 5, right? So that's going to be my first number sentence, 10 times 5. So 10 times 5 equals 50. Now, I still have this 2 that I haven't multiplied by the other number. So the other number that I'm multiplying by, it's not here. It's still here in my original number sentence because I'm taking 5 groups of 12. I took 5 groups of 10, and then I have 5 groups of 2. If I had 5 groups of 2, what do you think I'd have?
10.
I think I have 10. Why don't you talk about it and see what you guys think? Because I think you want to add something, but talk to each other first before you tell me. What do you think?
5 times 2 is 10, and 10 times 10 is 100.
10 times 10 is 100. I don't see where you're getting the other 10, I guess, is my
The,
question.
in the 12, there's a 10 and a 2.
Yeah.
And you take the 2 from the 12, and 5 times 2 is 10. And then there's still a 10 from the 12, and then 10 times 10 is 100.
All right, let me try this, because John showed us our open number line. Do you think we could use our open number line for this? Okay, so if I start here, and I start at 12, and I'm going to take, there's my one group of 12, so if I started at 1, I would go over there. So now I want to go another jump for 12. So what do you think 12 times 2 is? I have 2 groups. Go ahead, tell me.
24.
24. So there's my one group of 12, there's my second group of 12. I'm going to jump another group of 12, so it's going to be 3 groups of 12.
36.
36. Now I want to do another group, that's 4 groups of 12. What do you think?
48.
What do you think?
48.
48. So now I'm trying to get to my 5th group of 12. I'm going to add 12 more to 48, and I want you to stop. Second graders, 48. I want to do 48 plus 12. What do you think, Mr. Marcelonis?
60
How did you know that so well?
because 40 plus 10 equals 50 and 8 plus 2 equals
I
10
love that 8 plus 2 equals 10. So where am I landing? Where did you tell me?
at 60.
60. So I heard a 50 in here when you did 10 times 5, and then you told me 2 times 5 was 10. So if I write it this way, 10 times 2, oh, whoops, sorry, 5 times 2 equals 10. Where do you see a 60 up there? Does anybody see a 60 up there? Anybody see it? Where I could put something together to make a 60?
Yeah.
See it?
50 plus 10?
50 plus 10. Does 50 plus 10 equal 60?
Yeah.
So do you think the answer is 156?
No.
Do you think the answer is 100?
No.
What do you think the answer is?
60?
60? Do you see how we got 60?
Yeah.
You do? I have another question for you. When I do this is more of a 4th grade problem, so I give you credit for trying it here tonight. When I do this with some 4th graders, somebody said to me, I'd like to try to make that into a 10 because 10s are easier to do. Do you like multiplying by 10? Is that easy? Is that fun? What would I do to my 5? Because I'm not a magician. What would I do to my 5 to turn it into a 10? What could I do to it? I know you guys know because you do this all the time. Right? It's one of the strategies you have in 2nd grade. You know what you do with a 5 to get it to be a 10? What do you think?
You double it?
I double it, right? I could double it. So if I doubled it, I'm going to erase this. Because this is going to be something that you discover maybe next year. But I want to show the school committee because it's very exciting when this happens. So we had 12 times 5. And, okay, so I said I'm going to go. We know the answer already, right? What's the answer? 60. We all agree? Everybody here agree? 60?
Agree.
Okay, good. So I did times 2 to get it to be from 5 to 10. I doubled it. What would I have to multiply by 10 to get 60? What times 10 is 60? What do you think?
6.
Do you guys agree?
Yeah.
Now I'd like you to look at that and see, what do you think I did to go from my 12 to my 6? You all know? What is it? What did I do?
You minus the double.
Right. Minusing a double is the same as cutting it in half. So I did a double on this side and half on the other side, and I still got the same answer. Now, which one's an easier problem to solve? 6 times 10 or 12 times 5?
6 times 10.
So now, next time you come across a tough problem, like, let me try something. I'm going to go crazy right now. Try something really hard. With the I know you're having a fit probably behind me. So what if I change my problem to 12 times 15? Do you think that double and half thing could work? Could you try it? Try it and see what, and let me know when you have it, when you think you have it. Because that's a hard problem to do. Is that a hard problem to do in your head,
Yes.
ladies and gentlemen? Okay, 12 times 15. Let's see if you can think about it using your double and half. And I think you guys can think about it too. You can give me the double and half part for sure. I like this thinking. That's a hard one. All right, I'm going to let you help the 3rd graders, okay? What do you think if I took double of 15? That's a hard one for 2nd grade.
7.5.
Oh, that's half of it. Whoa! That's impressive. Wow. That's great. You went the other way. You took half of it. I want to make it double, so it's going to actually get bigger. I want 2 15s.
30.
Do you agree? Do you agree? All right, 30. What's half of my 12?
6.
6. So now I've got 6 times 30. 6 times 30 is kind of an easier problem to, oh, did I write it backwards? No, I didn't write it backwards. 6 times 30 is an easier problem to solve. What do you think it is?
180.
180, do you agree? 180. So next time you come across a really hard 2-digit problem like that, you could try a new strategy of doubling and halving. Is that pretty cool? You haven't discovered that yet because you're only in 3rd grade, I know. But so next year, don't say, Mrs. Mello showed me this really cool thing. Just raise your hand. I'm going to try a new strategy. Yes.
I had an even different, I had 2.
What was your strategy?
I didn't know this double and this half strategy, so that's
Okay.
new to me. I told you we didn't know, I'm gonna learn something.
All right, tell me your strategy.
So you had 12 times 5.
I'm going to put it back up in my upside down writing.
Right.
Yep.
So one of the math facts that's easy for me to remember is 11 times 5,
Ooh.
because it's easy. 1.
Anybody know 11 times 5? What do you think?
55.
55.
Is that easy for you to remember too?
actually easy, yeah.
All right, so I thought, okay, so if I do 11 groups of 5, then I know it's 55, and I know I'm really, really close. And then I only had one group of 5 left, and I can get to 55 with one group of 5 left and easily get to 60. So I did that as my second
Wow.
strategy.
Did you think of that one?
No.
And the easiest thing about that, or the easier to me, the way my brain works, 'cause it's all about how your brain works, is that I knew I was really close, so it prevents me from thinking that the number could be over 100, because I know at 55 I'm really close. So
Right.
if I did come up with something that was more than 100, I would say, oh, that can't be, because my mind is telling me that 55 is really, really close.
That makes sense. Do you feel like you do that with estimating sometimes, so that you can see if your answer makes sense? Were you feeling sure about your answers when you said 100 and whatever? You seemed a little shaky, but that's okay, because we're learning. I like that. And did anybody have any other strategies? Because when we do number talks, we really try to get them. Did you have a strategy?
Yeah, when I usually see multiplication, I usually like skip count by that number.
Kind of like we did on the open number line, right?
Yeah.
Very nice, and you can do that. And we're trying to get to the most efficient strategy. That's what we're learning. So when we first start to learn, like younger students, they like to count on their fingers, and we find that after a while, the numbers start to get really big, and they realize it's not efficient, and they may make a mistake. So I like how you took apart the number, Mrs. Spinelli, because that's exactly what we're doing, and there was an 11 hiding in there that you could use. So
Right.
nice job. So I would love to ask the boys and girls what they think about number talks and what the teachers think before we wrap up. So why don't you guys tell us? What do you like, if you had a choice, say between, a math practice worksheet and a number talk, what do you think?
I would rather number
You'd rather, can you talk closer to the microphone so we can hear you? What do you like about number talks?
I like hearing other people's strategies.
Oh, I like hearing other people's strategies. Me too. What about you?
I would rather do a number talk because I like I would rather do the work in my head, kinda.
Yeah, then use a pencil.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, John? What do you think?
I like number talks better because you get to hear other people's thinking and share your strategies.
Share your strategy. Sometimes it's nice you have that chance to talk, right? Anything that you girls want to add?
I like number talks because you can get ideas from people's strategies.
Definitely, for sure. Is that what you were going to say? You don't know. What about you, teachers? Because these are two teachers who have been in the district for quite some time, and they've been going through a lot of the changes with us, and I'd love to hear your observations.
Okay. I guess for me, I just started with number talks last year, and I came back from a maternity leave, so this was really new to me. And the second graders coming into third grade were blowing my mind away with the mental math strategies they were able to do. And oh my God, so exciting. So the classroom environment has been key in allowing them to take risks. They trust each other, they make mistakes in front of each other, and they're okay about it. And they're learning from each other without me being up there and saying, this is how you do it. So kudos to Ms. Mello and the district for bringing this to us. I've seen a huge change in my students' performance and the ability to take risks and feel comfortable with their strategies and themselves. So
Thank you.
And, like Mrs. Alvo said, it's not us standing up there and telling them how to solve the problem. They're inventing strategies. And so it allows them to have multiple ways to solve problems. They learn from one another. So if they get stuck on a problem, they have other ways to solve it. And I also see a huge change in the second graders coming up. Their number sense is incredible. So they're great.
And I would say, it's totally sort of an aside, but I was doing some research and asking students how they feel about math. at the 5th grade level. And it's very interesting that one of the things they said makes them feel the most comfortable and confident is when they get to work with others and they get to talk about their thinking, not just in a silo by themselves. So I think it's an important practice. And for people at home, we've talked about this before, but part of our standards are the standards of math practice, and these are the habits of mind that students have as mathematicians. And this practice really gives them a chance to engage in these practices. So they have to make sense of their problem. That was great. We just made sense of that together so that we could figure it out. They have to do lots of reasoning. And they have to sometimes defend they have to always actually defend their answer or critique the reasoning of others. And they get to find patterns and make generalizations. So it's a great tool for us to be able to reach some of these standards. And the best part is, if I can make it go, it won't go. Where is it? It says animation. The last slide says we have fun. I don't know why it's not showing. Oh, well, this was one other thing. So this is us as teachers flipping the script from what answer did you get? Math is not just all about getting the answer, it's about how you think. So how did you solve it? So we're creating an opportunity for kids to show us how they're thinking about math. And then we have fun, although it doesn't want us to have fun.
But we've seen the fun.
You've seen the fun for yourself. Yeah, I know, but it was a really cute little graphic. Oh. There he is. And we have fun talking about our numbers. So thank you for letting us share this with you. How do you feel? Was it a little nerve-wracking to do it in front of everybody? Yes. You did a great job. This is very different from the classroom, which is their safe environment where they do it. So thank you all for coming out, and thanks, moms and dads, for bringing them. This was great. And I don't know if you have any questions for our mathematicians.
Well, I would like to thank everybody. I think I've learned a few new strategies myself. It would be great if you could stick around and help us with the town financial policies that are coming up in a little bit. I think I could use the help anyway. Does anyone have any questions for our guests?
I want to thank you guys. You guys are very, very smart, and I like the way you come up with all these strategies. Very brave to come up here in front of the TV, too.
Yes.
And answer those questions.
They got themselves all TV ready, though. Can you
Oh, that's
That's
excellent.
Yeah, they look great.
I do.
And they did very well. You did very well.
Very impressed.
Thanks
Congratulations.
for persevering through that problem.
That's what I was gonna say.
It was.
Yes.
I think you made me very proud. You made all of us very proud. But I think that persevering through the really difficult problem, the one that Mrs. Mello said is more like 4th grade, that was the best thing that happened all night, because math shouldn't be about just having a worksheet where all the answers are easy to get, because that's not challenging your mind mathematically. So that, to me, all the way you were thinking, and you knew what halves of things were and doubles, and you knew all the other stuff, that was so impressive, because that's what's going to help you in life, is being able to say, no, I'm going to stick with this, I'm going to figure it out, it's going to make sense to me, try different things. Beautiful. Thank you for being here.
Great job.
You did a great job.
Thank you for having us. We're going to bring our chairs back to where we started.
That was great. Thank you.
No, not for me.
My.
All right, next up on our agenda, as we say goodbye to our friends, next up on our agenda is the update on the FHS guidance services.
Okay, so we have Ms. Lorene White, who you know is our Director of Guidance, and we have Ms. Beth Sylvia, who's our Assistant Principal here at the high school. Welcome, ladies. And everybody does have your guidance packet. Yep. So you do a great job every year taking us through the what's
Not
new.
as exciting as the kids. It's a tough act to follow. I think we got set up.
No song and dance.
No.
Little kids doing brilliant math, and
You know?
now we have you. All right.
So everybody has the packet, and because we do this every year, so there's just a few things I just want to highlight. But please ask if you have any questions, let me know. We're still using Naviance, and we're using it more and more all the time with the students, and I think that's phenomenal. We still have the tutoring at the high school, which again really helps our students. What I would like to talk about probably is on page 6 with the AP.
Is that on which
Oh,
section?
sorry, thank you, the guidance services.
Okay, for the first section?
Yes, first section, page 6. I just wanted to highlight a little bit about the AP. Our AP numbers are increasing every year.
That's exciting.
And our goal is we'd like every student to be able to take an AP class while they're at the high school. And although that's a challenge, it's also been great because the students are scoring really well. So we're going to encourage that. And we get our numbers from the PSATs in which the district pays for, which is very good because then we have every student taking the PSATs in 10th and 11th grade, and we get the results from that to see who is has the AP potential, and we have the meeting and so forth. So the kids are signing up, teachers are encouraging it, the administration is supporting us, you guys are supporting us, and I just want to continue that because when I go to college visits, that's the one thing that they say is that if a child has taken an AP class at the high school, they're so much more prepared than other students who have not. So,
Quick question on the
Yes,
APs.
please.
So, as part of our regular budget process, Bill and I do a lot of research on lots of things, including programs, courses added. So in 2016, we actually have 17 AP courses, which is up from 10 in 2007. So that's a terrific data point right there.
Absolutely.
But some of them aren't represented on here. For example, we have 3 AP art opportunities that wouldn't be in an exam such as this because it's more portfolio-based type of thing. So don't think that these are all the AP courses that we actually
In the foreign language.
offer.
AP.
World
I believe they're in
language.
the back in the course.
Yes,
courses
so
listed there.
just if
That's a good
people are
point. I need
looking
to
at the
add
section,
Right.
we do have a total of 17, so I just thought it would be a good time to get
No,
that in.
absolutely, and we should add those onto that. And the other thing is too, is we do offer some courses through virtual high school. So if we do not have them within the building, there is the virtual high school opportunity for the
Oh, that's
students
a good
to take
point.
them
So it's
as
actually
well.
17 plus.
Plus whatever they want.
Yeah.
Chris, do you have a question?
Yeah, about the PSATs to get into the APs. Is there other way to get into the AP classes if they scored poorly on the PSATs? Would it be
okay.
teacher recommendations or?
A student does not need to score a certain level in order to take an AP course. That's just how we have the baseline of who has the potential of potentially doing 3 or getting 3 or better on the AP tests. But if a student would like to challenge themselves, no matter what they score on the PSATs, if a teacher sees some potential on a student, they'll say, why don't you take this course? Listen, you've gotten A's, why aren't you challenging yourself in taking that? So any student can take an AP course. We don't limit them by saying you have to have this score, you have to have this grade or anything. We recommend, and if a student wants to challenge themselves, even if it's against our recommendation, we still encourage that.
That actually shifted in philosophy when Mrs. Myers-Packler came as a high
Absolutely.
school principal. It's more of an open enrollment. But sometimes kids don't see themselves that way, or parents don't encourage it. And so the potential really helps the staff, I think, to pick up some kids who might not be putting themselves forward or seeing them that way as well. So it can go either way. The thought about it, could it be initiated from a student, a parent, or a teacher, or the guidance department?
And students and parents receive a letter from the guidance department saying, after taking the PSATs, your student has been identified as a AP potential in the following subjects. So kind of clues parents in who might not be thinking
Right.
that their kid was.
Well, and I think the information night too is also a big eye opener for a lot of parents too, and say, maybe my kid can do this, and you can have that discussion. So it's definitely it's an open forum for anybody that wants to challenge themselves.
And I'm sorry, I'm taking up your AP time, but the other thing, just because we do have a new member, is that when we expanded enrollment into, basically open enrollment into AP, typically you see like a dip, you've got a wider participation, but we have not experienced that at all. Our
That
AP
was my
scores
next
have
question.
stayed at where they have increased despite the open enrollment, so a lot of good things are happening.
I think the kids are better prepared, but I also think that we are very blessed in this community to have the caliber of teacher that we have here, not just in AP, but across the boards. But we really do have some special people working with these kids, so.
And what makes our district a little different than other districts with the AP2 is it's mandatory that they take the test at the end. So it's not, so our scores are legitimate. Like some other districts might have scores, but it's because the only ones that have to take are the ones that want to take it. So all of our kids, it's mandatory, they all have to sit for the test. So we have
Or
a
they can't
true
enroll in
score.
the AP course. They have to agree to take the test.
Right.
So they can't enroll and then say, I'm just not gonna
Right.
try for the exam at the end, which does occur in other high schools.
It absolutely.
does.
And then you tend to have the kids taking it who believe they can get a 3 or better.
Right.
If they
but-
don't take the test, they don't get the credits for the college.
They won't get the AP
Right.
right.
But they still get the credit.
Right,
for
For the
class.
course.
for the class, right,
Yeah. Mhm.
and the GPA and.
We've never had a student.
No,
not
I think everyone's always taking
They
tests.
really have, so we've been looking.
That's excellent.
The next page on the same section, which is college counseling. Two things I just want to highlight. Last year, Mr. O'Neill and I had 3 sessions over the summer to try to work with the students because kids want to get going before September 1st. And it was a great success. The kids really felt better when they came in September. They had their Common App kind of done and their essay done. So we're going to continue that this year.
Oh, good. I heard
Great.
so
It-
many good things
It
about
was
that.
great, it was better for their
About
schedules.
getting some college counseling
Yep.
before the school year started.
So
That's a win-win, win-win.
No, they all
If
had
I double those, then that's a double, it would be 8.
If you half,
Because
if
I
you
said
half
it 4
that,
times.
if you half that.
Don't have.
No, they had appointments to the whole
Yes,
time, I
yeah.
loved that.
yeah.
If I
so
did
it
doubles
really
plus
was
1,
good.
it would be 9.
It's very helpful.
And the other thing is that you all probably know that the SATs have changed this year, so we're not sure what those scores and how they're gonna be represented with admissions. Everybody is still trying to work that out to see if the scores are gonna be naturally higher, naturally lower, where they stand. So that will, over the next year or 2, I think we're gonna see a little bit of change in that. The college acceptance, different things. Okay, the National College Fair is next Monday. So we're gonna be taking the entire 11th grade class to the college fair. It's in Boston. It's a great experience. They're exposed to so many colleges. And then when they get back to the high school, we follow up with a representative from a college, comes in, makes the natural transition as the college, and now this is what we're looking for. We've been fortunate enough the last couple of years to have the same person for Providence College. We'll see how that goes over the years, but he's been great. So we go to the fair, we serve them lunch, and then we have a representative from a college come. It's a great day for the kids.
And it's not to promote that college, he's talking about the process, the admissions process as a whole. So it's not gonna be like an ad for PC.
No.
So-
But he does show what they look from his eyes, from a college standpoint, is what lens they're looking through for our students, so the students can hear it from them as opposed to from us. Because it's always good to hear from a different point of view. Next page is page 9, and I just want to briefly mention, we still have the RTI and the mental health team that's getting together every couple weeks. Having Marie on our staff has been phenomenal. Very busy, lots of mental health issues, as I'm sure you've heard all around, so that continues to grow. And I think that the whole mental health team works really well together. Highlight that. On the next page, financial literacy. This year we had our first one at Showcase Live, and it was a great success. We have a few tweaks. It was our first year there, so we have a few ideas of what we want to do for next year, what we're hoping that they are generous enough to host us again next year. And that's when we take the entire senior class to have a interactive financial planning day. I thought that was a good one.
This was the one, if the
credit
committee
fair.
recalls, we used to share with Attleboro, Norton,
Right.
and Mansfield. And it's difficult, that's a lot of kids in one. And I give our high school a lot of credit, 'cause this is the first time we've gone out on our own and run our own just for our kids, which means they get much better experience,
Yep.
more time and attention, more individual feedback. So I thought, good for you.
Yeah, I'm glad, and it worked out really well, and it's only gonna improve, because, it's the first year you do anything, there's a few tweaks.
Mrs. Pillsbury does a great job.
She
over there.
does.
Yeah,
She
it's
does.
a great thing. It's huge, it's fabulous.
We had Ellen and the kids come for a teaching and learning highlight a
Right.
few months ago.
We did.
Right.
The
Yeah,
kids were
it's
fantastic.
really a life depressing event to find out you're not gonna be able to afford everything you want in life.
Well, that's what they say to you.
Salary you can make
There was
right
a lot of
out
credit
of
for you that
college.
day.
Yeah. Miss Sylvia, you know how much my Porsche costs?
They're trying to decide between an apartment
Like, buy a
and
Chevy.
cars, that's it.
Yeah.
And work clothes.
It is, yeah, it's really good. I know, like you said, Mrs. Pillsbury's also worked on the senior project, and I know she presented before, so I won't spend too much time on that, but I'm looking forward to those presentations in a couple weeks. They come in and do a whole presentation. Developmental guidance, not too much, is new in the beginning section of that. We do schedule every student into a developmental guidance class for all 4 years. Unfortunately, some students don't have a lot of wiggle room in their schedule, so they are double booked. So sometimes they have to make a decision of, do I go to the developmental guidance class or another class? So we don't always reach every student as many times as we'd like during the developmental guidance classes, but we try.
And there's follow-up. For the kids that happens, I think Laureen and the guidance department do a really good job of targeting those kids that maybe don't have that opportunity and get the information to them in more of a one-on-one type of situation as opposed to the group guidance. So they get the same information even if they're not in the group.
Okay.
So.
And what we're looking forward to next year too is that now with the new email system where we have every student, we're able to give them information via that way. We just gotta get them to look at their email.
You know what else
Lots of
very few
information.
people know? Like, when we do the day credit fair, I've had questions about why wait till senior year to focus on financial literacy, but it actually isn't true. Because in the 11th grade, if you notice the developmental guidance curriculum,
Yep.
10th grade, there's a big emphasis on orientation to money management and budgeting.
True.
Money management, checking accounts, savings, how credit works, how do installment loans work, and how do you budget. So we do actually start touching on financial literacy earlier than that. The day long is just a culmination of everything you've learned and then the reality of it.
Even Exchange City in seventh grade
Right.
teaches them how to
Right.
manage businesses. So I mean, it even starts younger when people say we don't teach those programs.
And we do have a representative from the bank comes in 10th grade to speak to the students, so that's really good too. So continuing in that same section, we did present some new courses for this year. Some of the English courses didn't have the enrollment, so we probably won't be running those, but it was just the first time and you gotta get it out there, and I'm not giving up on them because they're great courses, but the first year sometimes it's tough for kids to make decision because there's so many courses that they wanna take, only certain ones fit. But we also have the Intro to Stats B, Foundations of Calculus, Exploring Computer Science and Conceptual Chemistry, and all those were really, lots of kids signed up for them. So I think that those are gonna be exciting this year, the first year.
Yeah, and the computer science is new
It's
for this
new.
year.
And we have a lot of kids signed up for it, so I think it's gonna be really.
That's exciting.
It is, I think it's gonna be a really good course. Yes. Okay, I'm not gonna spend too much time on career specialist Ellen, because I know she already spoke with you guys, but if anybody has any questions, she's continuously having projects and field trips and so forth for all the students and trying new things, so she's top notch.
One of our better hires was to make her full-time. The students
just
are
work for us and not a partnership, yeah.
Yeah, we had to wait for budgeting and the right time.
I totally
But
agree.
yeah.
Tina?
I mean, our students have, our students have just prospered.
Go ahead, Bruce.
Lorraine, if I may,
Yes.
didn't we discuss the notion of having a career day annually with Ellen?
We did talk about it, yes, to sort of pick up where we've got Career Day at the Ahern School coming up on June 3rd, and kind of picking that up and carrying it throughout the high school.
Yeah, that was something we were interested in, Lorraine, was could we have career day annually, the way the Ahern does?
Okay, so we can definitely look at that. I
lot of
think that
work.
what we did is, tell me if I'm wrong though, career day 1 year and then transition the next year, here, posting here. So it was 1 day, she would run the career day, the next year transition
Could you
program.
remind me what transition
I
is?
don't remember that.
Oh, okay, transitional program, I'm just looking to see if I can,
It's in here, I did.
oh, here we go, November 10th. They had it at North Attleboro this year, but it's for a lot of our special ed population of services, about
Yes.
different resources and vocational stuff, here at the high school. She gets a lot of people in there for the
I think we definitely talked about it, but behind the scenes, what we're concerned about is whether, that's a huge event, as you can imagine, it takes coordinating, whether we can pull it off annually with all the logistics behind it and all the other things that we offer kids, because that's still a day out of classes as well. So I'm just not, we're trying to figure out where the priorities are and whether we can run it annually and whether we should, so.
I think the board has expressed an interest in having it
Right.
annually. And I know the Ahern's able to pull it off annually.
And I don't think the whole issue is whether we could pull it off, because we absolutely could. It's time out of kids in class. So
Right.
we try to, when you get to the high school, they try to minimize how many times a student's gonna miss their regular scheduled classes. I'm not saying it's not as valuable, don't hear that from me, but I'm just saying that's the thing, we're just trying to weigh time out of class versus the, what they'll get out of the career day, make decisions like that. We can absolutely pull it off if that's what you guys decide as a group, it's just we do have to weigh that.
Now, we've expressed interest at this table, so maybe we could take an action on.
Well, even, we've had a lot of success with the World Language Night, which is an evening
Annual.
program, and there is great attendance on the part of our high school students for that. If there is a desire to
actually
learn
something
about
that's
different
worth
careers, perhaps
exploring.
we could, and actually the
Like an
people that we are
wow.
asking to come and help might be more available at night after they have
Well,
worked
right.
during the day.
I think it definitely
So-
bears further
Yeah.
discussion,
That's
especially,
actually an option that's
with
really
Ellen
worth
and Laureen and some of the
Right.
the key
And-
players that put it together.
Right, and not to make an excuse, we do hear a lot from our staff about how many decisions are made above their level about things that interrupt their instructional flow. So we're trying to be sensitive to that, but I think the evening idea, even if it started right after kids finish their sporting events, is
Well, 6 to
definitely
8 or
something, because it's also a lot to ask people to come out and do. Because I know my son does the high school career day, but for him to take a day off from his firm annually is a lot. Every other year, not so much to ask, but I think I'm wondering if that isn't something that we could pursue, and maybe even we'd have more to offer.
Right. I think, I
We're
just wrote
thinking
myself a note, so let's explore that and see what that would look like, and I do think that the night would be a good option if we feel that we can get the support, and
Well, we might
also
have a
students
bigger
will
pool
come.
of
Yeah.
careers.
Just want to make sure students come, because it's, a lot of work to put on if students don't want to.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good point.
All right.
Okay. I'll get back to you on that.
Thank you.
Okay, and college information, we do the same kind of data every year, so if there's any questions, let me know. When you get towards the end of the year report, you notice it's pretty consistent from year to year, we have 218 students in our senior class this year, and 179 of them are going to public or private schools, and another 6% two-year colleges. And then you can see the breakdown between military, workforce, and undecided. So we're always at about the same range. We have 89% of our students next year going to a 2-year or 4-year university. So, and again, it's pretty consistent like that year after year. Up a couple points, down a couple points, but.
91% continuing education is great.
And so then I just always put a couple graphs to see where our kids are applying to, and what their GPA needs to be in order to get in, including their SATs and so forth. The kids love the graphs because it's a great visual. And then the last couple pages are regarding the scholarships. So we have the John and Abigail Scholarship, and we had 60 seniors who were able to receive that. And they're eligible for tuition if they go to a state college or university. But also we had students who, the COPLIC, which it gets the same benefit, which is the tuition to a state college or university. They just have to, in addition to their MCAS scores, they also have to do 2 other things with it. They take 2 AP classes, or you have an art award or a music award, just 2 other accolades. So students can get free tuition that way as well. And then the last pages just lists all the scholarships that we have, that we will be giving out. We're not telling you who's getting them because we don't actually know yet all of the things, but Eileen Warnet's working very hard trying to get all the scholarships completed and ready at the end of the year. And there's also a lot more scholarships, the national scholarships, which we have a whole grid about, and students can apply for those. Those are online and so forth, so there is money up there if you want to apply.
Oh, Copeland was the one you were just talking about, right?
Yes, Copeland, yeah.
Be good if he was in the state.
Yeah. It is, it's for the
Both,
state of
both my kids got
Massachusetts, I know.
Massachusetts ones.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mom and Dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for the great summary. Is there anything anyone has?
Yeah, back on the guidance services, I
Yes.
think it's page 5.
Okay,
I'm an 8th grade teacher, so I saw this.
Okay.
I liked it. So the courses for the high school, the teachers in the 8th grade recommend them for their placement
That's correct.
in the high school?
Yes.
So there's no test scores, it's just the
No, it's
teacher
just
recommendations?
Teacher recommendations. So what they do is the teachers go online and they make the recommendations regarding what they see in class.
Yep.
You know, and so forth. So what happens then is that's what the student is signed up for. If they want to have a conversation with the teacher regarding changing that recommendation, they would have a conversation with the teacher and the student, and then if they want to, they can make adjustments to that.
Okay, yeah, I think that's the best way of doing it.
Yeah. So it's worked out well.
Yeah, I mean, it's been my experience. I have one 8th grader coming up next year, and I have a 10th grader now, and I think the transition from 8th grade to your freshman year of high school is handled very well by the guidance department. You know, they have their step-up day, which I think is coming up in a couple weeks, and an opportunity to come and tour the school in August, and the kids feel very comfortable by the time they come up, and I think the course selection process goes very smoothly from the middle school to the high school. And I know the guidance department and the teachers work together with the parents. If there is, you know, some sort of, to have a discussion about placement in classes. And Bruce, has that been your experience as well? Yeah.
I think that if we put the time in now, like, so we go down to the Ahern and we try to just talk with the counselors, the teachers and so forth, their placements are usually spot on, you know, after a good discussion of what we expect from our curriculum and what their, you know, students are doing. So thank you for that. Yeah.
My now 8th grader didn't even, you know, she said, I said, did you get your course recommendations? He's like, yeah, that's all done.
Yeah.
You don't need to be involved in it at all, Mom.
That's great.
Okay. He's I'm all set. Talk to guidance. I'm all set. So, does anyone else have any questions or comments?
No, just a thank you for the fine work you do.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thorough as always.
You know, if Mr. Uden was here, he would say, is there anything that we could be doing for you? So in Steve's absence, I will ask that question.
That's a Bruce question.
Also a Bruce question.
Yeah.
Originally, that was a Mr. Gardner question.
No, we said we feel very fortunate for what we have. You know, we do, like I said, I think we mentioned before, that mental health issues are increasing, and with the AP numbers increasing too, we're going to have to look at, you know, that as well, because we never want to discourage a student from taking an AP class. So those are a couple things that we'll have to look at. But you guys have been very supportive.
Well, how would we have to look at the increase in AP?
Okay, well, I don't mean to open the can of words, but it is, so we're requiring them to take the test, which has a fee to it.
Right.
The test itself has a fee. So we would never want a student not to take an AP class because there was a financial burden about paying that fee.
Right.
But
So-
we haven't had a student yet that has not,
We would
so
never,
let's
like,
just-
yeah, we
Well,
just
with numbers
find-
increasing, you don't know.
Well,
if
that's the
that-
thing, that's what we're saying, so we'll have to look at that, I think, but I really, so far, everything, you guys, again, done a great job, and I'm not really worried about it, you know, but
Can I-
that's what that's all.
Can I just probe on that a little bit, maybe direct it to Beth, because I so appreciate, Beth, what you do here for us. And I know it's been such a uniquely challenging year. But are there things that, if we wanted to take this to the next level, that pop into your mind, or services that we could add to expand what we do?
Well, I think Maureen touched upon it, and it's something that we've been talking a great deal about collectively with Diana, and I know Debbie, we've talked about it in our leadership meetings, but you know, we are a little worried about the social emotional health of our students, and we are fortunate that we have a well-staffed guidance department that also has career and college support there, so that does allow the guidance counselors to really get into that, and then when things kind of evolve, we kind of kick them over to Marie Foley, our school social worker. But those numbers are going up. But it's not just Foxborough. You can go to any school and see that the numbers of kids that we're dealing with hospitalizations is increasing, sadly. I think so. you know, I think that we have to take care of our kids' mental health first before we can expect them to take an AP class and get a 3, a 4, or a 5 on an AP exam. So I think it's something that bears some watching. We need to take some data, I think, to get some real numbers about what we're dealing with. I mean, I think situationally about what we're dealing with on a day-to-day. But I think right now that seems to be an important piece of the puzzle. And I think it's something that we need to keep an eye on. But we're very fortunate in this community. I say it all the time. Even with the difficult year that we've had, it's still, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. I wouldn't work anywhere else. The support in this community is second to none. It's just unbelievable. So the fact that I think the leadership in this district knows that it has a supported school committee says a lot about the direction that we're going, and we're very fortunate to have Debbie as a leader. So.
I'll just make one last comment if I can, but you
Please
know, all around the industry of education, the school experience is evolving, right? And I think we are fortunate in this system that we do offer so many different experiences and opportunities for our students. But I would just say that, you know, if there are other ways you think we can continue to help, whether it's the, you know, the special needs population or the talented, gifted, or, you know, anywhere in between, I would just invite you to come back and tell us what other services we could offer to continue to enhance that student experience.
Well, boss?
Well, I'm going to say what everyone's expecting me to say right now, which is I appreciate everyone's comments here at the table. Those things happen as part of our budget process in the fall before we get to you. We have lots of meetings about staffing needs, programmatic needs, student needs, and we prioritize those needs, and that's how they get to you if we decide to add positions. We do a lot of that work, obviously ourselves. We have budget people in the audience from the town, from the advisory committee, and I'm just feeling in my role, I need to step out on a limb a little bit and say all of that happens as part of our budget process, which we all know, and that I would hope that people would trust that we consider all the needs as part of our budget process, and not have an ask at the table here with the camera on, and suddenly, you know, it's a position that, let me tell you, if they're gonna stay at the table, it's a position that's been roundly discussed, or a need that's been roundly discussed. So in that spirit, I will say that, sure, there are needs. If you had the middle school here, they would tell you the same thing. If you had elementary, they'd be telling you the same thing. I will say, because of the support from the community that they have both said, and that the committee knows very well, that this committee began and has supported Joe O'Neill's position, which is the College of Career Counseling, which that's all he does. No other high school I know of has that. I don't know, Lorraine, you don't know of other high schools. So when you employ, which you do, a college career counselor, a college counselor, that's all he does, that takes part of the load off the guidance counselors. Because in other high schools, they're doing the therapeutic work, the guidance, the group guidance, the developmental guidance, and they're doing college work, you know, college placement work. So the fact that you support that position, and he is so good at what he does, means that you may not realize it, but by default, by supporting that, you're also increasing the capacity of our guidance staff to do more of this kind of work that we're talking about. So we are comfortable in maybe, we do want to have a conversation about how we meet all these needs. But that all does occur very thoughtfully as part of the process. So I don't know that people know that other places do not employ a college counselor. We do. And that has allowed us to do some other things with greater attention than you can only imagine doing all you do, and having that on your back, because you remember the time when that didn't occur, when we didn't have that. And no other high school will tell you that they have beyond the 4 guidance counselors, that they have a college placement counselor.
I
So
agree.
that speaks to the community support right there.
Absolutely.
Anyone else? No? Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
Have a good night.
All right. Next up, we have our Town of Foxborough Financial Policy Review. Mr. Yukna, and Mr. Scollins, Mr.
Mr.
We have
Spinney.
Mr. John Spinney, our school committee representative to the audit committee, and we have Mr. Thomas from
Thank
the
you for stepping up,
advisory
sir.
committee here with us. Thank you, gentlemen.
So glad you're here on the night you
services.
saw our little kids doing mental math.
Saw that.
That was great.
Said Randy should hire him as an intern.
I was considering it.
Yeah.
So this is the first.
While Randy's actually getting ready, the reason that the group is coming in front of you basically is that while we have done many of these policies for years, Randy has brought together a committee to basically formalize the policies. It does serve us in many ways, which Randy's going to go through, but it's important that every board be in agreement with the way these policies are written and what they stand for. And so again, while he's already been in front of, I think, the advisory committee and the water and sewer, we are one more stop on that before he gets to the board of selectmen as well.
Sorry, Bill, I can't seem to find the drive for the,
Our technical whiz will help you out.
Sorry about that. Is it possible I put it in the wrong slot?
There's probably some students who could help us with
I
that.
did.
I
Sorry.
know that I
I'm sure
can't.
there are
There we
lots
go.
to choose from.
Yeah, I didn't have my glasses on when I was doing that. Thank you. There we go.
It's an excellent PowerPoint, so I'm glad you're going to get it going.
Excellent.
All right. Randy.
Excellent. Thank you for having us here. In summary, in essence, what we're looking to accomplish is to adopt financial policies which have been our practices to date. And the reason for doing this is twofold, which we'll cover in the presentation. But one is that our bond rating agency has made very clear indications to us, actually wrote it into the rating, said if we did adopt certain financial policies that they would consider us for an upgrade, which ultimately translates into lower borrowing costs. And the other reason for having these types of financial policies is that as the town officials come and go, and we do, that there'll be consistency from year to year and administration to administration, and that's so we get credit for doing what we do, but you get more credit if you actually memorialize them and get the policy boards to buy into it. Not that they can't be modified going forward, but that's in essence the goal of this. And we do have a bond offering coming up in a couple of weeks, and so we're looking to satisfy that requirement. So the credit rating itself, just prior to going out to the market to borrow for funds, the town's finances are rated by a credit rating agency. It's a requirement, in order for the bondholders to get a comfort level for, what interest rate they would bid for your bonds. They want a rating agency to put a stamp on it with one of these ratings. And it has a very strong correlation to the interest rates that are bid. Obviously, the higher the rate, the higher the credit rate, the lower the interest rate. Currently, Standard & Poor's, which is the agency that we've been having rate us, there are other choices as Moody's and Fitch. They rate us a AA+ with a positive outlook. And if you look at the chart down below here, you can see there's many different gradations of ratings. Some are investment grade, those BBB and higher, and then those that are a speculative grade. So our AA+ in the S&P column is considered a very low, credit risk. So we're already in good condition, but there's one more higher peg above us, and that's AAA, and that's what we're shooting for, and that's in essence what S&P has been indicating to us, is that this is the last thing that they'd like to see, and then they would strongly consider us for that. We did actually increase our rating 2 notches 7 years ago from AA- to AA+, and that's saved the town hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest on all the bonds that been issued since then, 7 years ago. So this is actually an extract. All the words on this page, except for the heading, is an extract directly from the credit analysts' review. When they summarized our review, they just reviewed us in November of 2015, so about 6 months ago. And the reason for the review is that we did a refinancing. They call it a refunding, but we refinanced about $7.6 million in bonds, and same process. You need to be rated in order to go to the market to sell them. So here's the grand summary, in essence, of all of the areas that they rate us. And this very strong economy, which is great for us. We're going through another boom time here in Foxborough, which is fantastic. They recognize that. That's measurable. They say strong management with good financial policies and practices. And so our goal here is we don't want to have good financial policies. We want to have strong financial policies, or very strong financial policies. And that's why I've underlined it here in red to call it, they say it's good. In essence, they're saying our practices are good. And we do have some policies around many things, but on these key things that they're looking for, which we'll get into, they want to see a written policy. We have strong budgetary performance, strong budgetary flexibility, from year to year. Very strong liquidity, so the town has deep enough reserves to cushion itself in hard times. And we have very strong debt and contingent liability position. Contingent liability are the large unfunded liabilities, or do have unfunded liabilities, which is pension and the retiree health benefits, otherwise known as OPEB. So they rate us very strongly on how much debt we have, relationship to our financials, and where we stand on managing those big contingent liabilities. And strong institutional framework score, that's in essence state of Massachusetts, the support that the state gives municipalities with state aid, and just the general climate that we operate within the state of Massachusetts. So not something we have a lot of control over, but that they rate that highly. So that's right out of their rating. And then they also have the recommendation as well in the same document. Everything again on this page here, except for the area that calls out the policies in the last sentence, is again right from the rating. So 6 months ago, they revised their outlook on the town of Foxborough from stable to positive, and they reaffirmed our AA rating on all the existing debt that we have and the refunding bonds. So they actually moved us up, from just stable to positive. They liked what they heard. They liked what they hear is going on here in Foxborough, and they based their outlook on a history of favorable operating performance, very strong reserves, very strong and growing economy. And then they stated, should Foxborough sustain its trajectory of balanced operations while continuing to add to its reserves, and should officials introduce formal financial policies, we could raise the rating within our 2-year outlook time frame. This was 6 months ago. And again, we only get rated either A, when we go out to borrow, or we actually got rated a year ago because we hadn't borrowed in 3 years. And so they like to revisit us anyways, because the investors want to see what they still think of us 3 years later if they haven't heard anything. And then they go on to say, however, if budgetary performance becomes imbalanced, leading to a draw on reserves, they could revise the outlook to stable. I'm glad they didn't say they could revise it to AA or AA minus. It just we're a solid credit, but we're just looking to get that last tick so we can reduce our interest costs on the next offering. So the specific financial policies that they're looking for us to adopt as a town are our reserves. Free cash is a component of that. Our unfunded liabilities, which is the OPEB and pension, our capital improvement and debt management plans. Again, we have great practices in all of these areas. We just need to memorialize them. So we're not suggesting doing anything new with any of the policies that we brought forward. So armed with that really directive from the rating agency, we set out to deliver these financial policies. So the audit committee was re-energized. Larry and John, thankfully on the committee. I know Debbie's on the committee. Bill has been supportive as well, and others. And so we met and reviewed and refined some recommended financial policies, and then ultimately voted unanimously to adopt them and bring them forward. And so we've met with the advisory committee, and they voted to adopt once they reviewed them. So I was very pleased about that. And then the water and sewer commissioners saw. Already been presented to them, and then tonight they actually took it as a formal vote to adopt them tonight. And so there are two other major policy boards in town that we would love to get the endorsement of, and one would be obviously the school committee, and then the Board of Selectmen. And the goal being to actually share with the rating agency policy document that is signed by all the different policy boards. Assuming that everybody agrees, but everybody seems to agree so far, which isn't surprising given that we're not proposing anything different than we've been doing. We're just putting on paper what we've been doing. So that this should satisfy the recommendations of the rating agency and give us the best position, put us in the best position to obtain their highest rating and the lowest possible interest rate on the next bond offering. And we are planning to go to market in about 3 weeks. We're already in the process of pulling together the prospectus for two projects, the Town Hall project, $6.86 million, and the water treatment plant project, which was approved at the annual town meeting for $16.5 million. The debt service on that is paid out of water enterprise receipts. It's not a general fund burden. So it's a total offering of $23.36 million. So it's a good size offering, should get a fair amount of attention, and would it be even better for us if we got a lot of attention than we had the higher rating. So we're here tonight to meet with you to discuss the policies. And so we developed a way to measure the policy. So you've got a 10, 11-page policy document which details out several different areas, but when we came up with the policies, we wanted to make them very measurable, and measurable every year, where in essence a report card could be issued every year at the close of every fiscal year, and we can say, here's where we are with our policies, so that we're not just going through the exercise of putting down on paper what we're doing, but we're also measuring. And we're measuring in a way where everybody in the community, all the stakeholders, all the policy boards are aware of where we are, and the rating agencies as well. So once we do go forward with this, this will be something that would be part of the regular ratings review, would be to share with them, here's where we stack up on all these policies that we put together. I haven't seen many other communities who have actually translated the policies to a report card like this. These are the key policies that they're interested in. There are many others, but they're not as critical as these ones here. So I'm just pleased that this is something that we could develop all the metrics, have the data, and we'll be able to report out on every year. So what you have in front of you here is the summary of the what I'll call the FY 2015 report card. Obviously, we're still within 2016 yet, so the book isn't closed on that. And there are several metrics here, which in essence are the policies that we're looking to formally adopt. And happy to tick through them quickly if you'd like. So the first one is actually the most important one from the rating agency's perspective, and it's something they call unassigned fund balance. Used to be undesignated fund balance. It used to be fund balance, but as the accounting world has progressed, they've refined it, to this. But in essence, what it is all of the unallocated equity within the general fund, and they're looking for, the rating agencies are looking for certain ratios here. They're traditionally looking for a double-digit number here, that you have 10% of your budgetary expenditures, in various states of reserve, uncommitted. So we currently stand at 15.19%, very enviable position. Of course, everything is scale. Our scale is relatively moderate to modest, but it's still enviable that we can do this, because usually the smaller you are, the harder it is to generate a reserve of this size. So we're in good shape here, and so the target that we've set here is nothing less than 7.5%, which is really a base minimum, but really a target of 10 to 15. So something that out of the gate's not going to hamstring the town, should we fall in some really hard times, and should we struggle to maintain that. I don't see that happening for the foreseeable future. We're in a good position right now, as we know that can change with the economy. But so in essence, the target range 10 to 15%, and we're already ahead of that right now. The next two items are actually subcomponents of the unassigned fund balance. The first one is in essence free cash, which is the end of the year we close out any surplus revenues we've collected, unspent budgets, that sort of thing. And every year we target $2 million in free cash. I think in our financial planning discussions here, or financial forecast discussions here, we've talked about free cash. We could do a whole course just on that, but in essence, it's what we turn back collectively at the end of the year out of the general fund. Revenues received in excess of what we committed, and budgets that were underspent. And it's important to note that we don't commit all of the revenues that we anticipate receiving, so we can generate a free cash reserve like this, which gives the town some liquidity from year to year, and it's a hedge against hard times. So we're at a good place right now with over 5.7 million in free cash. Our annual recharge target is 2 million. That can go up and down really fast in hard times, and it has. You could go back about a dozen years, and there was never any free cash to carry forward. It was generated, and then it was all used in the next year's budget. So we're finally in a position, because of some economic activity, in the town over the last decade, that's really come in the town's favor, and we've been prudent with those funds and not letting it burn a hole through our pocket. We live within our means, because I really consider that sort of a one-time amount. The next item is general stabilization. That's really your core stabilization. I wouldn't call it rainy day. I would call it like a disaster fund, because the only reason you'd want to tap this, which is our target, is 5% of the operating budget, which is the rating agency's target. They consider that's a good benchmark to have, and we do have it, which is just over 3 million. The only reason you would want to tap that is if you were struggling to make your debt service payments. That's what the rating agency is looking for from a municipality here, to have something like that. Not necessarily to bridge your service gaps from year to year, but it's to, if you really had a meltdown. I can't foresee that at this point in time in the near, intermediate, long-term future. But if you did, that you would have this to rely on, and help you get through, to at least make your debt payments, so you could at least maintain your credit, and you could continue to operate, maybe borrow if you needed to. Because if you can't make your debt service payments, you'll have great difficulty getting credit. And it's important to note that any drawdown now on the general stabilization fund is a reportable event to the rating agencies. It's called disclosure event. So the way to look at that is, once the money goes in there, unless rating is not important to the community anymore, I would consider it sort of locked away, and that's really sort of your worst case scenario. There are some communities who don't believe in the general stabilization fund, because they don't believe in locking away the money for the purpose of getting a lower rating, but it actually does pay dividends. The other reserve is capital stabilization. which is just as it sounds. It's a way to put away funds that don't go into the general stabilization fund. You can put money in, take money out, that's not reportable. So you can have, once the regulations change where all the activity out of the general stabilization fund became reportable, that's when they allowed other stabilization funds to be created. So we're fortunate enough to have a capital stabilization fund. It's pretty modest at this point, $550,000. The suggestion is that we'd use that for major capital projects, and where it makes the most sense at this point in the town's cycle is to reduce what we would need to borrow for an excluded debt project, say like the Borough School. So it makes more sense. We could have used that to reduce what the town hall project would have cost, but that didn't make sense because rates are we're low now. Maybe by the time the Borough comes on board, rates might be a little higher, but then even more importantly, we'll be able to buy down how much debt we have to carry for that project if we put this fund towards it. And the thinking is that we would try to maintain something here over time, try to squirrel some money away here over time to have the same effect that we're going to have with that particular project. And with the central maintenance department being established through the great cooperation with the school department, I think with the way I think we're already seeing some dividends in the maintenance budget itself on the municipal side. So I see some funds ultimately being able to build that account back up to reduce our building costs. Overlay reserve, that's a requirement by the Department of Revenue, but it is a reserve. That's in essence the funds that we use to pay for exemptions that taxpayers are allowed to have, and every year for the town, those come out to about $220,000. Tax exemptions. And then there are the abatement requests. And I always encourage any property owner, if you feel your property's improperly valued, to please submit an abatement request, because the whole MO of the assessing department is fair and equitable cash value. So and there has to be funds there in order to be able to make an adjustment in value. And so it's in essence a doubling of the exemption amount. And any excess that builds up there, we wind up bringing back into the budget process for one-time expenditures like capital. And that's a required reserve. Another reserve that's become less important over time because of primarily due to some Massachusetts law changes is our operating reserve. I know probably in private sector, an operating reserve might be a percentage of the overall budget, like 1% or 2% or something like that. Ours is very meager at in FY15 under 20 basis points of the budget at 75,000. But the reason for, and that's controlled by the advisory committee, as you know, but the reason that it can be that low and we can still operate and get through any shortfalls that we have, primarily two reasons. One is that there's a law that was created back about 8 years ago, which allowed the town manager to make year-end adjustments to budgets within 3% of a budget, to either within the budget, to a voted line, or within other municipal budgets. Doesn't apply to the school department, but because the school department has bottom line autonomy, there's flexibility built within that as well. So between the bottom line autonomy and the town manager act, is what I refer to it as, gives us the flexibility where we can make ends meet at year end to meet any modest changes or needs in budgets. Those are all the reserve components. Last page, page 7, is our OPEB or retiree benefits liability target here. What we're targeting to fund here as a policy, and we've been doing it now, is what's called the annual required contribution. I know many of you are familiar with that. That's in essence an actuarially determined number that says this is how much you need to be putting away today so that you can be fully funded, and in our case by 2038, because we started the fund in 2008 and we're allowed to take a 30-year funding cycle. So there's an amount to be able to do that every year, to fund every year to hit that. We are currently funding at that level, at the ARC level, $764,000 this year, and that will that's going up for next year by $100,000 to $864,000. Water and sewer enterprises are also contributing as well because they have their share of the liability as well, and that's why it's an odd number. We're contributing $800,000 from the general fund. It's all meals tax driven, and then the balance is coming from water and sewer. So the fact that we're here, we're actually at the ARC, funding at the ARC, is a very positive thing. There are very few communities in the state that are actually doing that, so it was good that we did that, because by doing that and making the changes that have been made to plan design and some decisions that the selectmen have made, we have actually cut the town's liability based on the last actuarial study by about 64%, from $62.2 million to $22.7 million over the last 6 years. So we're in good shape here, but that can be fleeting. But the rules can change with healthcare, et cetera, and investment performance can change. But we're in a good shape now, and we get credit for actually addressing that. The other contingent liability is the pension assessment. We really don't have any control over this. It's the non-educator pensions that the town funds. As you know, the state funds the town share of the educator pension, so you don't have to worry about that. But we do have to worry about all the non-educator pensions, and that's managed out of Norfolk County Retirement System. And they have their own board of trustees, and they have close to 36 communities that participate in that system, and they determine what the assessments will be based on their actuarial analysis, and they're currently targeting a 2031 fully funding schedule, and that's currently putting us with an annual assessment of just over $3 million, which has been going up pretty consistently because they have a pretty aggressive schedule. There's good news and bad news, but if everything works out, by 2031, that assessment will drop dramatically because the majority of that assessment is actually funding the unfunded liability. So that would be a silver lining down the road. Some communities are actually waiting until their pension assessment is their pension liability is, quote, fully funded before they address the OPEB liability, but we're addressing both. The next pieces are debt related. So as you know, we've got multi-components here. We have excluded debt, which is where the voters go to the ballot box to vote an increase in their taxes, and then we have included debt, where that's within the operating budget itself. So the committee looked at some parameters about the high and the low end of what that should be, and the ranges that we came up with is for all debt within the general fund of between 2% and 9%. Currently, we stand at 5.24%. Our debt service, meaning our principal and interest payments, just over $3 million. So we have plenty of flexibility here, even with the borough school and the town hall added in here. Our percentages actually won't move significantly because it's as a percent of expenses. Obviously, expenses are growing. We're amortizing the debt that we already have. By the time these particular components are layered on, these percentages really aren't going to move that much. So we're right in the middle of the range. There's nothing that I foresee over the next 5-10 years that would conceivably put us on the outsides of these ranges. So clearly we're living within these ranges, and we have been, and that's been the long history. We've been well within these ranges here. Just for example, the town, when say the borough school comes on in 2018, the debt service on that with an estimate of what that would be, currently we're at 4.84% of expenditures in excluded debt. We would even be less than that in 2018 because the budget's growing and we will have amortized a lot of debt. We'll actually be somewhere around 4.43. So very, very comfortable range that we're in here. Same thing with the included debt within the budget. We've let that run down dramatically over the years. It had been, as high as about 1.5%. And even with the town hall debt service layered onto that, we'll move from what is currently 0.4% up to 1.3%. And I'm not aware of another project that we would likely, layer on in the near to intermediate term. So it's still well within that 0 to 2% range for included debt. But it's good that we're actually adding that back in, because we always had a significant percentage of the operating budget going towards included debt. And it's appropriate to do that to maintain that consistency and not put it all on excluded debt. The other two are related to debt as well. Bond maturities. What the rating agencies look for is that a benchmark of 50% of all your debt paid off within 10 years. Typically, we're borrowing for 20 years on average, and right now we'll have 51.8% paid off in 7 years and 71.7% paid off in 10 years. So we're well within that. There are other communities that will go long, 30-year bonds and things like that. We typically won't do that. Although I will say with the water project, which is water enterprise debt, because that is like really a 50-year plus. Roger's the DPW director's talking about is more of a 100-year investment. So we thought appropriate to go 30 years there to ease the burden on the water ratepayers, for that one. That still won't really impact our ratio here as well. We'll still be comfortably above 50%. And then the last item is really just something that the rating agencies look for in general, which is that we keep all of our general obligation bonds, the debt itself, within 2.5% of what's called the equalized property value. So take all the property in the town, commercial, residential, industrial, add up all the value, and then the state then equalizes it for different discrepancies in assessing across the state, and they come up with an equalized value. So we're currently at just under 1%, and a ratio that rating agencies look for is under 2.5. So we're comfortably within that. So that is the sum and substance of the important policies that are being proposed here. There are others that are specific to the water and sewer departments, the enterprise funds, but the rating agencies aren't so hyper-focused on those as they are on this, because they know there's a different revenue structure there than here. But I will say that the water and sewer commissioners did vote to support all the policies, as including everything that applied to how they manage, because they understand nothing that's proposed here is a threat to how we're managing today. We're just putting into writing our practices. I know it's a lot. So questions?
Because, actually I think there's a couple things to kind of simplify in some of your thinking. When you look at the free cash balance, a lot of people get excited about seeing that number. If you look to the far right, you see that number is about $600,000 larger than it had been in the previous year. So that was a pretty good swing in 1 year of 10%. But you also have to realize that just at the town meeting, as an example, we just spent $3.4 million in free cash, about $1.4 million against the operating budget. So to the recharge point, if you don't have $2 million, you got an operating problem next year. We spent about $700,000 on the borough project. Again, it was great to have that available and not have to borrow and ask taxpayers for additional tax money, and about $1.2 million in CIP. So, quite honestly, even though it's 5.7 the day it got certified, it's pretty close to that $2 million number by the time we get to the end of the year.
Right.
And then you have to hope that there's additional funding coming back from our operating budgets and from potentially underestimating some of our revenues.
Right.
The stadium is a big wild card in that. Obviously, we don't anticipate we're going to get every single concert that comes out there, because you don't know. Any given year, things can change, and we've seen that. We've had some really wild swings up there. You get lucky and you get some playoff games. Obviously, that's big money, but you can never gamble by putting that up front.
Exactly.
So I think Randy does a great job when it comes to the estimating on the revenue side, but the kind of town that we are and the way our funding is done as far as where it's coming from, especially when you have a major venue like that, you have to understand that you're going to have some significant changes up and down each year, but you also have to understand you have a certain dependency on that free cash each year just to make your budgets balance. I also look at the general stabilization fund in a way that when you started off and had a lot of education from your mortgage company, they're always saying that they want you to have 6 to 12 months in your savings account so that you can handle your mortgage. That's what the stabilization account basically is. They're telling you the exact same thing. They want the town to take the same kind of outlook that they expect a reasonable person to take, and not have no reserves at all, because bad things happen and you just need to be prepared for them. I think the one thing that this policies, while they're being memorialized, the one thing they have done for the town over the years, quite honestly, is help us weather the storms. So even in the bad years, when many towns were doing a lot of layoffs and changing services and really hitting what they were capable of doing, what Foxborough had to do was basically slow down its economy, whether it was reducing what raises were or things of that nature, but we're able to maintain services. And I think that's what the critical component of any good financial plan is, to maintain services, good and bad times, and never expect that any one given year is going to be the jackpot, because every year blends out over a 10, 15, 20-year cycle.
Absolutely. Well, I couldn't say any better. Well, very well said.
The other thing that's important too is I think on the spending side, we talked about the revenue side, but one of the things that this does is kind of put a fence around our debt situation, so we don't mortgage our future.
Right.
And that puts us in a situation where we've made good policies on the revenue side, and then on the expense side, not levering the town too much, and then focusing on the two contingent liabilities, which are huge, that continue to be worked on, from restructuring, benefit plans, and things like that. So, we looked at this. I actually think we lowered the debt numbers at one of our
did,
meetings
actually.
to make them lower than they originally were projected, and now they're a little tighter than they were originally.
And I think I know Randy said it, but I think, again, it is worth saying again. One of the big structured values that we got out of the meals tax was that when it was put in place finally after the third vote, it was put in there on a way of how it was going to be used, because there was a big concern that it would just be added to all the operating budgets and we'd spend it outright. It turned out to be $1 million number, so it's a fairly good-sized number. But the best thing that was done about that was the majority of it went towards the OPEB, which, again, other communities didn't do. A lot of them just used it to fund their actual operating budgets. And then the secondary portion went towards our roads, and our roads really needed some significant work.
Some of them still do.
Yeah, and well, it's a
Ongoing.
process.
It's ongoing.
It's a process, and I think what this does is basically we've taken that $1 million number now, and as Randy's shown you, this is 2038. I mean, we've got a number of years to get out there in funding this, and if we didn't have that type of source, there's no way this community would ever be able to fund that.
Absolutely.
So I think to John's point, you've kind of collapsed everything, and you've kind of pushed a number into every bucket that needs to be maintained in order to get debt down and maintain and stabilize operating revenues and budgets. And I think it's a good practice to have.
We call them levers, I think.
Yeah.
You have all these levers to pull. You get in trouble.
Right.
And we've done a good job addressing those big liabilities, but the next one for us to do, and we've got a foot in the door on it, is the building maintenance, is to really put aside money for that, because those are our largest investments, as we all know. Schools have done a phenomenal job maintaining their buildings, and now you're bringing that over to the municipal side. But we need to put some skin in the game with some funding to give the maintenance team the tools they need to do preventative maintenance, and it's hard to pull that out of the capital budget every year. So it's good practice to start building that one up as well.
I want to reiterate something that Debbie said when you were talking with the guidance counselors. You talked about how the school budget was a process, and I would just point out that that process is embedded in the townwide process,
Yes.
which we do every year. It's repeatable, it's consistent, it's predictable. Everybody understands what's happening. Takes a lot of the drama out of budgeting for the town. And I think that this report card just fits into that, and it helps us, stay on that path.
Right.
And we can easily measure ourselves. So I think it's a great tool.
Yeah. This is a great education. I mean, this explains so much to the average person. I'll say I'm an average person when it comes to town finance. That actually be a compliment to myself. But I think this explains a lot. and the whole committee's process explains a lot about how the town is managed and how the decisions are made. But I also say going into the future, when this is, approved and voted, that I hope that the policies are online, because when people ask, even things about what are capital projects, how are those decided? It's a long explanation that we give verbally, and it would be great just to point people to this, because it is easily understandable. It explains complex financial processes in
Absolutely.
regular
Clear,
layman's language,
concise terms. This was the best summary of the Foxborough way of planning for our town financial future, that I was so impressed with reading through this document. Was just that you can tell that a lot of thoughtful work went into this work product. It's a great explanation. I completely agree. And I do think if somebody was curious about, well, how do they do things, this is a roadmap to how this town plans its budgets from top to bottom. And one other thing you didn't say on the front page of your PowerPoint: responsible, stable, thoughtful. That just sums it right up, and it's what we're trying to do here at this table. It's what the Board of Selectmen are trying to do. It's what the Advisory Committee is doing on a weekly basis. And I was on the AdCom with Larry and John when we discussed the meals tax and the OPEB, and you're right, that's exactly the discussion that went on and has been carried out in the years since we passed it. I think this is a great work product. I don't have any questions. It's so clear.
Thank you. That is, Superintendent, that is the intent. Once the votes have all been taken, you want to put anything up prematurely before votes have been taken, but once votes have been taken, and hopefully we'll have a vote tomorrow night from the Board of Selectmen, and I would intend to put the policies up on the website, the next day. And is it premature to ask the committee for a
I guess the question would be if anybody, has any other concerns or thoughts.
I think your report card and ticking it off is excellent.
Bruce?
It breaks it into small units so people can understand.
Everything's measurable.
Right.
My only comment would be, certainly we have an excellent track record with Randy, both in the town and with the coordination of the school side finances, and with Bill having come on, we've certainly, I think, just upped our game even more. The only thing I would offer to the committee is a thought that none of us are accountants or experts, and there's a lot of numbers and percentages in the documents, so we might consider approving this based on a contingency that the selectmen approve it tomorrow night. And my rationale in thinking that is just that the selectmen probably talk to Randy about this stuff a whole lot more than we do. For all of us, this is the first time seeing these guidelines. So just a thought.
Sure.
Okay. Would any other questions, thoughts, comments?
Well, I myself would be comfortable endorsing it tonight because of the details. When you take your top experts, they've saved the town so much money. I would be comfortable on endorsing it without waiting.
I think the reason people wouldn't endorse this, to be honest with you, is if you felt that it was somehow limiting your ability to do your jobs within the school department, as an example. I think Randy's done a good job explaining why we really don't see that as an issue, where our ranges, and John was really kind of one of the ones pushing to tighten some of the ranges up and stuff, which is important too. You don't want to have these gaping holes like the Grand Canyon that anybody could, match type of thing. But so I think they're reasonable, but I also think there's enough wiggle room within these that, again, in the storm years or the problem years, which you're going to have, we've had cycles, every 6 to 8 years where we're going up and down. I think that the guidelines are strictly that. They're a guideline to hold us in. We've got enough of a range that we can manage our ups and downs as we have to. But the reality would be, once you had it down, you'd want to build those back up again and make sure that you're falling back within your range. There's obviously nothing that would ever stop the town from coming together again and saying we have to do something different than what these guidelines are saying. So again, in one of those extraordinary events where it was just bad times for a long time, the guidelines are what they are. You know, they are your policies as to what you would like to manage, but then you still have to manage. So I just think they're just a very good roadmap to what we do and how we've done it and how we've gotten to where we are today. And I, as you know, as the business manager for schools, don't see how these would negatively impact us.
Just to piggy.
Chris has a question for you?
Oh, no, I was just gonna make a motion.
Oh, okay. Well, then Randy, hang on one second.
I was just going to say, I completely agree with Bill. These can be, because they're policies, which are guidelines, they can be changed, you know, every year. I mean, the intent is to bring forward the report card every year, and you'll notice that we're not looking just to have the Board of Selectmen be the only endorser here. You know, there are other large departments that have a stake in this as well. So it's a, you know, if we don't have unity, then, you know, then there's an issue and we all need to address it. So I would say that, you know, if we did run into one of those hard time scenarios, it wouldn't be just one board's call. It would be, we would have to have a consensus amongst the boards that, yes, we need to do something different.
Tina,
And we would.
The reason I'm here tonight is I was voted as the representative for the school committee.
Yes,
For the audit committee, so the reason I came was really to be here for the school committee's benefit and to tell the school committee that I went to every audit committee meeting, talked about every single one of these, read every single document, edited them 3 or 4 times. Randy probably did it 20 times before me. And we did.
Yours are the most important.
We did have a lot of like serious debate, not like serious, we had serious debate about this, and things were tightened up. And I do think, to Bill's point, my point, the other 2 gentlemen here tonight, I mean, there's plenty of levers, there's plenty of wiggle room in here. I don't think these things are easy just to walk over, so there's some teeth to them, but I don't think they're gonna hamstring the town to, if we get into an economic situation like 08, 09, that you'll find yourself like hamstrung by the policies. To Bill's point, you're gonna end up having a lower recharge on free cash. You're gonna basically cut your CIP down most likely. You're probably gonna delay projects, all that to keep things, you know, balanced from a budget perspective, and then have to rebuild the reserves going forward. So I think that is a thought in this. When you talk about thoughtfulness, that's one of the things that was thought about in doing this.
Agree with that.
So I would
Just the
endorse
idea of
policy.
target ranges alone allows a lot of transparency. It allows everybody to see if you're on the low range of the target, then you know why you're trying to build it back up a little bit. On the other hand, if you're at the high range of the target, the average person can see that and say, wait a minute, you're at the ceiling. Maybe some of that money should be reallocated back to some of the needs that we've discussed, either at town meeting or elsewhere. So I think it really allows the public to participate a little bit more in the finance of the town and the philosophies that guide the decisions.
Well, I completely appreciate the time the audit committee has spent on this, and thank you as our school committee representative for your time put in and for coming here to talk to us about this tonight. Definitely. I see the audit committee as our experts.
Right.
I'd like to make a motion just to recommend the financial policies for the town of Foxborough.
Is there a way to support it? I'll second that.
All those in favor? 5-0.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys.
Great job.
Yeah, great job in this.
Randy, do you need this signed tonight before you leave, or can we give it to Bill?
Not before I leave. I was gonna leave with Bill.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Randy.
Good job, Randy, thank you.
Thank you.
We're a little off schedule. Massive amount of work.
It was. You can really tell reading it how much work went into all of that, particularly the report card, which is a great tool for the future for anybody. It's wonderful.
Remember that the school committee has a report card.
Community report now is a legitimate one.
We all have report cards.
Isn't that interesting where they get some of these
I've
ideas?
gotten a lot of compliments on that, by the way. The community report card rather than report. The community report.
Rather than the community report card, yeah.
Excellent. All right, we're a little past our stated time, but we're moving on to the second reading of policies. We moved forward 3 policies last time to this meeting. The policy GCCC/GDCC, family and medical leave. We had added at the last meeting the one sentence under paragraph B, which is in red, stating contractual family sick leave must be used if an employee is out to care for ill family members. Is that?
Either ill family members or an ill family member.
And I actually
think
read it, it
it's-
says an
I'm
ill
gonna go
family
with
member.
an ill family member.
All right, so that should be singular, so with that one change. Does anybody want to
I'll
make
make
a
a
motion?
motion that we waive the second reading.
Second.
Yes.
All in favor of waiving the second reading? 5-0-0.
shocker.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions on the family leave policy before?
Motion to approve as amended.
Thank you, Bruce.
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor? It's 5-0-0, or is it, Chris, I'm sorry, did you vote?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, 5-0-0, to adopt the family leave policy as amended. The next policy is JJF, student activity accounts. And the changes highlighted in yellow are the ones we discussed, the amendments we discussed at the last meeting. Does anyone have any additional questions or comments on, I'll just refresh your memory. This is back in January, I think, Bill brought forward, December, Bill brought some changes, legal changes to the student activity accounts policy, and he asked us to set some minimum balances.
There are new regulations governing student activity.
And so Bevy and I, for the policy subcommittee, had taken a look at the student activity accounts policy and the MASC recommended changes to the policy. And we we changed the policy based on the MASC recommendations, and that's what you see here. Would anybody like to make a motion to waive the reading, or shall we?
Well, I thought we waived them all.
Okay, I think we should waive them one at a time, but.
I'd like, okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't care, you.
I'd like to move to waive the reading of the student activity account file JJF, please.
Second.
All in favor of waiving the reading? That's 5-0-0.
We read these.
Would anybody like to make a motion to adopt the policy?
I just have a question.
Yes,
For
ask
number
away.
2, it's crossed off annually among the student activity.
Yes.
Just reading that sentence out loud, the interest that is earned on such accounts shall be maintained in the agency account and distributed, established by Foxborough School Committee
I think
policy?
we dropped an as established. I think it should say distributed as established by Foxborough
Okay.
School Committee. Thank you for catching that, though.
Yeah, Janet?
All right.
Number 2? Yep. Thank you, Chris.
Motion to
Thanks.
approve and adopt as amended.
Second.
All those in favor? 5-0-0 to adopt student activity accounts. And the last policy we moved forward was file ADAA, long-range strategic planning. And again, the changes we made here, as we discussed at our last meeting, are to just update the policy to reflect our actual practice with regard to strategic planning. The policy had said 5 years. We now do a 3-year planning period, and that's what the changes are designed to address. Does anyone have any questions?
I move to waive the reading of long-range strategic planning file ADAA.
No, second.
All those in favor of waiving reading? 5-0-0. Would any-
I move to accept the long-range strategic planning changes for file ADAA.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? 5-0-0, long-range strategic planning adopted. Okay, moving on. Now we're making up time. We have the school committee vote to reappoint Ms. Spinelli as a voting member of the FICO Board of Directors for the 2016-2017 school year.
I'll help you make up more time.
There we go.
This is an annual appointment.
Yep.
And per the new regulations in Massachusetts for collaboratives, they will need minutes saying that you have appointed me or I can't serve on the board. So this is an annual thing you'll see recurring.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
All those in favor? 5-0-0. Mrs. Spinelli is appointed to the FICO Board of Directors for the 2016-2017 school year.
Thank you.
Other matters?
Thank you. for spending the time for us, Debbie.
Welcome. Mrs. Spinelli.
Well, my first thing, I would just want to know, would the committee like, under other matters, we have 2 donations that came in since the packet was finalized and posted. We have 2 donations, we can do it under other matters, or if the committee would prefer to wait till the next meeting where it actually says donations, it's up to you.
I like accepting them so that we can thank them as promptly as possible.
I agree with that.
I mean, I think our appreciation
Well, I
needs
think
to
we
be
would appreciate
expressed.
that too. Okay, so,
Do we have consensus on that?
is that, oh yeah, is
that
that
okay?
consensus?
Yes,
That's
if we
okay.
have consensus, Bruce, you're good with that?
Okay, thank you. So the first one is from Cynthia and William Tilden to Foxborough High School in the amount of $150 for the Wampanoag Runners Club, which is the track cross-country club, donating to that. So,
Well, thank you
very
to the
nice.
Tildens. That's wonderful. Would anyone like to make a
Motion
motion?
to approve, accept.
Second, with gratitude.
All those in favor? 500. Thank you to Mr. and Mrs. Tilden.
Yes, and they don't live in town, so there's somebody who supports the running
That's
club. It's
really nice.
wonderful.
How fine.
Yeah, and secondly, this is an annual so far, and I know this company's changing, sometimes it's priorities and what it does, so we are very, very grateful that, it says Inventus Systems, which is Schneider Electric. So it's still coming through under the other name, I noticed, I just happened to notice that.
They have about 30 names.
It's what?
They have about 30 names that
They have 30
maintain.
incorporated
Different
names.
divisions?
Yeah, they-
Okay, so this is coming from Inventus Systems in the amount of $10,000, which they have been very generously supporting for many, many years now, and that's for the summer math camp, so that there are no fees for parents whose children want to participate in the math camp in the summer.
Fantastic.
It's an extremely generous donation, and Mr. John Eva is directly responsible for his desire to continue to support the math camp and advocate for it, and we
great.
can't say enough about what a strong partner he's been for our schools.
I move to accept the check for $10,000 for our math camp from Inventus Systems with gratitude.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? 500. Debbie, how many kids attend the math camp? Do you know?
I don't
I know it's pretty
I have
well
to ask
attended,
what the
but
sign-ups
I was
are.
just curious.
Yeah, I don't know. I can find out though.
That's fantastic. I was just curious. I think it's a great opportunity and
don't
very
know.
generous of Inventus.
And it's been very popular. And for the second year in a row, a related topic, we're offering our computer science summer camps. And we're actually gonna run 2 weeks this year, where you could have choice of the beginner level and the intermediate. And we ran it once last time, and we're running 2 sections, 2 weeks. So that's been a pretty exciting new offering in the summer. Okay, the other thing I think I put at your place, this was just finalized with the senior citizens today, sent it last week, and heard from Vicki Lowe today. So this will be our 3rd annual Senior Citizen Visiting Day. And we like to have a new catchy title each year, so this is the 3rd year. Last year, if you remember, we called it Bus to the Future. This year, we're calling it Spring into Schools. So we will have our wonderful senior partners and friends visiting the Ahern Middle School for the Grade 6 STEM Day.
Nice.
So we thought we'd select this year one destination. Last year, we went to all 5 schools in a day. It was a pretty rigorous day. So we're going to do the morning at the Ahern, and this is at Diane McDonough, who's been before you many times. Used to be an 8th grade science teacher. Now she's our 6th grade math science teacher. So she's taking on this project herself. Grade 6 STEM Day, which stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math, and is a full morning with the keynote speaker from Raytheon and many activities for kids and the seniors to pick from, including squishy circuits, tower building, fingerprinting, robotics, Google Glasses, woodworking, 3D printing, bridge building, build a team, programming, balancing act, Horns and Hooves, which is the Franklin Park Zoo coming, and many more sessions. So the seniors will also get the same menu the kids are getting, and we're going to have student ambassadors bring them around the school to the sessions that they like to see, and they'll be able to see 3. So, and then we'll have a light lunch and return on the wonderful yellow school bus. So we had a great day the last couple of years with the seniors, so I personally really look forward to that. So
Sounds like they're going to have a great day.
June 10th.
The seniors get to participate in the activities with the students?
I think there'll be more
Or
observing,
watching?
but we always have group participation, so
yeah.
if they want to, I'm sure they can.
Are we welcome to come to the school committee?
Sure.
Okay, 'cause I've never gone to it, and I remember Bev talking about it last year at one of our meetings. It sounded
Absolutely.
unbelievable.
as
We can see,
usual.
and we can see the things that are going
Go
on
to the
also.
office and sign in.
Okay,
Be
come
great.
home, I'd like to, yep.
Yeah, well, this is the first time we've done this, so I
Well,
think
this
that's
is
great
great
to
to
see.
Right, yep.
Well,
So-
and kudos to Ms. McDonough for arranging the sixth grade STEM day. I mean, we accepted the $1,000 donation from Raytheon at our
Yes.
last school committee meeting in
Perfect.
her
In her
honor as one of
her
the
selection.
STEM finalists of the
Right.
year.
And
So-
we've talked a lot at this table about how it's important, particularly for female students, to become interested in these subjects by grade 6, so they don't ace themselves out of the thought of a career they could very well be, have a passion and a talent for. So I think
Sounds
this
like
is
it's
a
gonna be a
great
great day.
addition to what we offer at the middle school, I'm sure. So come on.
Fantastic. Thank you for bringing this forward. Does anyone else have any other matters? Bill?
Yeah, just wanted to bring it to everybody that the Allison Johnson has given her formal resignation. We are in a search process right now. We have over 32 candidates
Oh, great.
that applied for it. Allison has decided that one of the things that she did extremely well for us, which was the grant writing. She wants to do that on a consulting basis for a lot of the other communities around. It's where her passion originally started before she came here. I think she's made a great change to the food service program. The connection between food service and health and wellness, I think, has been incredible.
Huge.
So I think our hope is to continue that, those strides that we've made over the last 3 years, and obviously wish Allison the best.
Yeah.
Thank you.
She will complete her year through
I'm glad you
July
brought that up, because on a
1st.
similar note, our athletic director, Caitlin Brown, will also be moving on to a wonderful new opportunity for her.
Caitlin Brown?
She is. She's going to be
This is brand
assistant
new.
principal at Andover High School.
Yep.
And her family's on the North Shore. She has, as you know, little ones, and I believe she's going to be moving her family up there, her own personal family up there as well. So she's a very talented individual as well. So I certainly both, I will say with deep regret that they're going, but I'm really happy that they're going to things that are good for
going to
them,
great
and that are good career
things.
moves for them.
They deserve them.
Well, they both
Yes.
certainly made an impact
in the
in the
school, yeah.
short time they've been with
They
us.
certainly
but
have.
They've been truly impactful people.
They have.
Marilyn?
Yeah, on Saturday, the street art at Pat's Place, Gillette Stadium, which is unbelievable, and I ask you all to attend it. It's all day, I think it's like from 9 to 3, and.
This coming Saturday?
Yeah,
Street painting.
and hopefully it's as nice a day as it was last year. People buy a piece of land and draw on it, and they have contests, and it's an all-day event throughout
It's a
the
great
whole
event.
Pat's Place. And Mr. Foxborough High School was rescheduled for Thursday night at 7 p.m.
This Thursday?
Yes, there's
Okay.
8 seniors competing.
Thursday at 7?
Well, you'll have to update us as to who wins.
Well, I was told I couldn't attend.
There may be maybe a familiar person in the mix. So.
Debbie?
I have two things. Once again, absolute kudos to the music department for, I was lucky enough to be able to attend both Saturday night and Sunday afternoons pops. And they're just a marvelous, just a marvelous.
I agree.
And then I want to, particularly because Chris is new, oftentimes it falls to the chair to give a graduation speech, but we've never written anything formally in stone for Foxborough, and it is customary that if one of the board members has a graduating senior, we have offered, if they feel comfortable, giving the graduating speech and handing out the diplomas to that person. So we do happen to have a board member with a graduating senior
Yes,
this year.
yes, we
So I'm
do.
wondering if we would like to keep our friendly policy going.
It's a discussion.
We could have
Well,
that discussion.
everybody's looking at
on
me,
this.
but
I am looking.
But I will say, yes, I will verify that different conversations have been had in the past years about whether the chair would like to do that or whether someone else would, and it certainly is a conversation that's occurred. But it usually is something that occurs behind the scenes, and it isn't something this board, to my knowledge, votes on. So I'll just be the neutral person, since I'm not on the board and I'm a voting member, to say, these are usually conversations that happen, and I don't want, anyone new to think this is a motion to be made or something like that, because it's not that, right? Am I right?
But it's not a motion, but it's the feeling of the
All
board, if we're comfortable with that.
Well, thank you for bringing it up, and I think maybe we
Her
can
and I will
talk
talk.
about it a little bit. Certainly, we've had some great speeches by Mr. Gardner and Ms. Lord in the past, so we'll see what everyone wants to do. And
Chris has.
let's see, Chris, you're next.
Yeah,
Yes.
just want to piggyback on what Bev said. In addition to the Pops, I was able to attend the jazz concert
Oh, dear.
and with Bev
That's right.
and
They are
Miss Spinelli, and that was unbelievable, including the the middle school,
Junior jazz,
the
yeah.
junior from the Ahern.
With
They were
including
better
fifth
than
graders.
yeah, the 5th grade, 6th grade. They were better than most high schools in the area. They were
So glad you brought that
incredible.
up, because I always sit here and I forget things, and people say, I'm like, oh, mention.
Well, there's a lot going on.
I totally agree. My husband and I thought the 8th grade junior jazz band has never sounded better than they did. And that's kudos, because we've had a shift, we've had a retirement in the middle, and somebody new takes over. And I give all credit to Jenny Greenleaf, who I thought they have sounded never better. And so it just goes to show what strength we have.
We do.
Everybody else can pick up the ball and keep it going, and we have such talented musicians. And I don't even know what to say about the high school, because that is just beyond belief every single time.
Well, Ms. Greenleaf
Truly
is
is.
one of our own graduates from Foxborough. I sat with her
Nice. I
parents
love
at
we
the
have a lot
Pops
of
the other
alumni,
night,
yeah.
and they couldn't be more proud of her, and as we all are. So she's a product of our high school program. I had are you finished?
Yes.
Okay. I had a couple of things. This Friday, the high school is doing the Heinricher Hustle, the first annual Heinricher Hustle. The wellness classes have been preparing for a race in Joe Heinricher's honor, and I just think it is so wonderful. A great way to honor Mr. Heinricher, to reinforce the wellness and fitness that we're trying to do in our wellness classes, and also in memory of Joe. It's just a great thing to do, and I guess they're going to do it last period on Friday. So wish everybody well, and the kids were raising money and sponsoring, raising sponsor money to go to the Joe Heinricher Memorial Scholarship. So I
It's a
wanted
wonderful idea.
It is. It's a great idea. I hope it's the first annual, so hopefully we'll see this every year.
And this is what, a race?
It's a 2-mile race to honor Mr. Heinricher. So
Right.
I think it's fantastic.
And Special Olympics is this Thursday.
And Special Olympics
not
is
forget
coming
that.
up. That's great. I'm sure Joe will give us a full report at our next meeting. So, and the Heinricher Hustle, and then the only other thing I had two other things. We have 2 concerts at the Ahern this week. The 7th graders on Thursday. The 8th graders are tomorrow night. And the Burrell School
I was
is
gonna say,
performing
it's like-
Lion King Kids this weekend. So our young students are showcasing their talents as well. That's all I have.
Who doesn't
Amy,
love
do you have
Lion
anything?
King?
I know.
It was covered.
Janet?
All set, thank
All
you.
right.
Dean, I have one.
Okay, good. I thought you were done.
I hadn't started.
Well, I'm sorry.
I'm just listening. So the committee received a letter from Jerry Saig of the St. Mary's Parish Community. She says that she's been helping Father Matt plan a baccalaureate mass for the morning of Foxborough's graduation on June 5th. The 9 o'clock liturgy welcomes all of our graduating seniors attending both public and private high schools. I was hoping that you might be able to bring this invitation to your next school committee meeting and share this information with your fellow members. We thought some of the school committee members might wish to attend as well.
Thanks, Bruce.
So that's, once again, a baccalaureate mass at St. Mary's for the graduating class of 2016, both public and private high schools, 9 a.m., Sunday, June 5th. Graduates are asked to meet in the lower church by 8:30. Those who have graduation gowns are asked to wear them. Please do not bring caps, as they may get misplaced.
Bruce, have they done that before at St. Mary's? I don't remember,
remember it
being
either.
invited.
No,
in the
my
past, but-
children, who are 31 and 34, both had a baccalaureate mass. So sometime, I'm going to guess
Oh,
about 10
nice.
years ago, it stopped. But, many of our
Great idea.
religious institutions do something special for graduation.
Yeah, it's really
and
nice.
If they invite people, it certainly is, I do plan on going. But it's an
That's
individual choice. It's not sponsored by the schools. But I think it's wonderful. We have great partnerships with the Clergy Association. So I think it's a wonderful thing for any institution to want to celebrate their own graduates.
Do a lot of seniors go to it? Back
Well,
when
they
your
did
kids-
historically. I mean,
when you
like you
did it,
said,
right.
hasn't existed for a
No,
while.
I've
So
never
it would be nice if it got back off to a good start. No, we'll see, but it certainly
Very
is
thoughtful.
something that was a tradition, I will say,
Thanks for
in
blessing.
earlier days. And I think it's wonderful that they're getting it.
That's great. Thank you, Bruce.
You're
Do you have
welcome.
any other things you'd like to add?
Thank you.
All right. Would anyone like to, I guess next we need a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing negotiation strategies with union personnel. The committee will not return to open session. So,
I will make the motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing negotiation strategies with union personnel, Foxborough School Bus Drivers Association. And remember, this vote is by roll call.
right, we need a second to your motion.
I second. I second motion.
Okay, a roll call vote? You-
Oh, aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Do we need a motion to adjourn this
Oh,
meeting?
yes,
All
I
right.
think you do.
Did I do those in the wrong order?
No, I think that's,
What? No, you can go.
Motion to adjourn. The open.
Oh, yeah, Bruce sometimes waited till the last, but I always do it just going around.
I forgot.
I second Bruce's motion.
All right, motion to adjourn. All in favor of adjourning to executive session?
Aye, aye, aye.
Thank you.
Ay, ay, ay. Okay.